Chapter 501. According to Longao's information, this elder of Ethereal Palace would almost never leave Ethereal City. And one of Baishuan's favorite places was Glory Tea House. Under normal circumstances, Baishun would arrive punctually at dusk every day. Longao arrived at Glory Tea House in advance. The moment he sat down and asked for a cup of tea, he called for the waiter. "I'll book this place today." "No." The waiter rejected him without even thinking and turned to leave. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at Longao. How was he like a waiter? He was clearly a boss. If it were any other waiter, he would definitely do anything for money. But Glory Tea House was different. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already thought of the reason. Without a doubt, the reason why Glory Tea House was so awesome and even a waiter was acting like a boss was because of Baishuan's daily patronage. As an elder of Ethereal Palace, Baishuan's status was needless to say. Coupled with his strength, it could be said that Baishun was the local tyrant of Ethereal City. About an hour later, an old man walked in slowly. When Longao saw this person, he immediately perked up. Even though the old man didn't look like much, Longao could clearly sense the powerful aura emanating from the old man. "Elderine, you're here. Take a seat." Waving his hand, Baishun didn't sit down. Instead, he looked over at Longao. Just as Longao was feeling surprised, Baishun was already standing in front of him. "Give me a good pot of Longjing tea. Please wait a moment. I'll be right there." Baishun sat down and looked at the young man before him. Suddenly, he asked, "Dragon Sect Master, Longao?" He was already shocked to the extreme. Putting aside the fact that he had already disguised himself, he hadn't even seen Baishun before, let alone know him. It was because of this that Longao couldn't figure out how the old man could recognize him at a glance. Now that things had come to this point, Longao didn't hide it anymore. He said, "Yes, everyone says that Elderine is a great person. Now it seems that you are really powerful." Without waiting for Baishun to speak, Longao continued, "I really want to know how you recognized me. Master Dragon, please have some tea." At this time, the Longjing tea was already old. Baishun first poured a cup for Longao, then poured a cup for himself, and said, "It's very simple. Master Long's aura can't be hidden at all. It can be said that I have admired Master Long for a long time. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." Longao began to feel fearful. He had never expected the outer sect elder of the Ethereal Palace to be so powerful that he could recognize him just by his aura. The more Baishun acted like this, the more Longao feared him. "Master Long, there is no grudge between us. I am just an outer sect elder of the Ethereal Palace. I am already old, and I don't want to interfere in the internal affairs of the palace. So, do you understand what I mean?" Nodding, Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he understood what Baishun meant. The meaning was simple. "I, Baishun, had no grudge with you. The grudge between you and the Ethereal Palace had nothing to do with me." Baishun made Longao a little confused. Longao even wondered if the old man in front of him was still an elder of the Ethereal Palace. "Elder Een, if you don't mind, you can call me Brother Een." Shrugging his shoulders, Longao said, "Brother Een, I believe you should know about the grudge between me and the Ethereal Palace. I am puzzled. According to our relationship, we only have swords and knives when we meet. But now, you and I are sitting down and drinking tea together. Don't you feel awkward?" "Master Long, I have just said that the grudge between you and the Ethereal Palace has nothing to do with me. I am already old, and I don't want to interfere in the affairs of the sect. In another 2 years, I will leave the Ethereal Palace and live in seclusion. Although our paths are different, I really want to be friends with you." Master Long's actions are definitely unprecedented, taking the initiative to show goodwill. Until now, Longao still didn't understand what the person in front of him meant. Although the other party took the initiative to show goodwill, Longao still didn't dare to let down his guard. After all, Baishun was an elder of the Ethereal Palace and not an elder of the Dragon Sect. "Sect Master Long, let's get straight to the point. The reason you've come to Floating City this time around is to kill me. However, I can tell you clearly that with your current strength, you're no match for me." Longao nodded. He completely believed this and said, "The rumors outside are not true." I also didn't expect that Brother Yin's cultivation has reached the Saint Realm and the Peak Saint Realm. That's why I am more curious. Since Brother Yin's cultivation has reached the Peak Saint Realm, the Ethereal Palace should pay attention to you. Why? Peak Saint Realm. Although Longao didn't want to believe it, the aura released by Yin Baishun just now was indeed that of a Peak Saint Realm. So Longao knew that Yin Baishun didn't mean any harm. Otherwise, with Yin Baishun's strength, it would be easy for him to deal with him. There was no need for him to go through so much trouble. Master Long, you don't know. I have always wanted to live a carefree life. I don't want to live a life of intrigue. What's more, my cultivation has reached a bottleneck. If I want to continue to break through, I have to calm down and comprehend nature. Otherwise, it will be impossible for me to break through in this lifetime. So that was it. Toward this kind of person, Longao actually still admired him very much in his heart. Master Long, let me give you a piece of advice. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. With your talent and potential, you will definitely become a great emperor in 10 years. At that time, it won't be too late to deal with the four forces. Without waiting for Longao to finish speaking, Yin Baishun continued, the four major forces have been able to dominate the 9 regions spirit domain for so many years. Their background is completely not what you can imagine. So it's still the same sentence. Where there is life, there is no need to worry about firewood. How could Longao not know about Yin Baishun's kindness? But could he choose to let it go? Longao knew that even if he was willing to let go of his hatred for the time being, he believed that the four forces wouldn't. Instead of being attacked passively, it was better to take the initiative to attack. Brother Yin, I appreciate your kindness, but I can't avoid everything. There are some things that a man must do in this world. There is no way to avoid it. The four forces will definitely not let me go. In that case, why should I avoid it? It's better to fight. Life and death are up to fate. With admiration written all over his face, Yin Baishun nodded and said, That's right. I know I can't persuade you, but I can tell you a secret about the Ethereal Palace. I hope it will help you. P.S. Congratulations to the appearance of the second protector. Xiaojia's chrysanthemum is also for you. I hope everyone will support me. I look forward to the appearance of the elder. Chapter 502. Please go ahead, Brother Yin. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Yin Baishun wanted to tell him, but seeing how serious Yin Baishun was, it seemed that it was no small matter. Master Long, you're here to deal with Ethereal Palace. Longao didn't say anything, which meant that he agreed. In fact, even a fool could guess that he came to Ethereal City to deal with Ethereal Palace. 10 years ago, the Ethereal Palace found a treasure and guarded it for 10 whole years. You are really lucky. 3 days later, this treasure will mature. As long as you can get it, not only can you increase your strength, you can also make the Ethereal Palace feel heartache. What treasure? Where is it? Longao's interest was piqued. Flying Goose Mountain, Water Curtain Cave. After thinking for a while, Yin Baishun continued, Master Long, you must be careful. There are 2 saints guarding the Water Curtain Cave. Nodding, Longao stood up. When he was about to leave, he suddenly asked, Brother Yin, I'd like to ask, why are you helping me like this? Longbatian. Without continuing to ask, Longao's body quickly disappeared into the crowd. Looking at the young man who had left, Yin Baishun suddenly smiled and said, Senior Long, you saved my family back then. Today, I'll return the favor. From today onwards, I, Yin Baishun, will live in seclusion. It turned out that Yin Baishun helped Longao this time because of Longbatian. Because of this, when Yin Baishun said the name of the old ancestor, Longao already knew what had happened. Longao knew very well that the reason why Yin Baishun helped him was not because of his face, but because of the old ancestor. Without thinking about Yin Baishun's question, Longao thought for a while, and finally decided to go to the Water Curtain Cave. No matter what treasure it was, he couldn't let Ethereal Palace take advantage of it. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what treasure it was that it was worthy of 2 saints of Ethereal Palace to guard it. What a saint represented, Longao was very clear in his heart, so just thinking about it, He knew how precious the treasure in the water curtain cave was. Longao did not rashly head to the Flying Goose Mountain. No matter what, the water curtain cave had always been guarded by two saints. If they were discovered, would it be possible to seize the treasures from the hands of the two saints? Longao spent a lot of money to obtain information about the Flying Goose Mountain curtain cave. It turned out that the Flying Goose Mountain was a forbidden area of the ethereal palace. Not to mention ordinary disciples, even core disciples of the ethereal palace could not go there. The more the ethereal palace acted like this, the more certain Longao was that there was definitely a treasure in the Flying Goose Mountain curtain cave. 3 days. Originally, according to Longao's intention, entering Ethereal City this time was to assassinate Baishun and the disciples of Ethereal Palace. But now, he had decided to go to Flying Goose Mountain. If he continued to carry out the assassination, he would definitely alert the enemy. Thinking of this, Longao did not act rashly. Instead, he found an inn and prepared to rest well for 2 days. After 3 days, he would head to the Flying Goose Mountain Curtain Cave. Ordinary Spirit Domain. The Dragon Sect's complete retreat allowed the Ethereal Palace to effortlessly occupy the 8 states. Only the Sky State was left. At this moment, the Ethereal Palace stopped their attacks and stopped abruptly. Unless it was a last resort, Ethereal Palace was still unwilling to completely fall out with Dragon Sect at this time. This was not to say that Ethereal Palace was afraid of Dragon Sect, but was afraid of the other 3. From the beginning to the end, Ethereal Palace did not know the strength of Dragon Sect. If they were stronger than expected, then things would be troublesome. In the beginning, the 4 major forces withdrew from 9 states and Dragon Sect became the only overlord. With Ethereal Palace's re-entry, 9 states was divided into 2, each occupying half of the country. Ethereal Palace forced Dragon Sect to retreat. The people of 9 states who were originally full of confidence in Dragon Sect were all shocked. They did not know what was going on with Dragon Sect. Why were they retreating and not fighting Ethereal Palace head-on? For a long time, Longao had counterattacked. This time, he suddenly chose to retreat, which made everyone depressed. But most of them still chose to believe in Longao, thinking that Ethereal Palace was a villain. One day, Longao would counterattack again and deal a heavy blow to Ethereal Palace. Half of the country. Ethereal Palace's actions caused the Imperial City to take action as well. But the Imperial City was not helping Ethereal Palace, but helping Dragon Sect to deal with Ethereal Palace. Ethereal Palace had never thought that the Imperial City would suddenly attack and fight without any regard for their lives. Were they going to fight head-on? The Ethereal Palace wasn't a fool. If they went head-on against the Imperial City, both sides would suffer heavy losses. That would only benefit the Nether Mansion, Level 3 Long Family, and Dragon Sect. The Ethereal Palace would never do such a stupid thing. Because of this, Ethereal Palace chose to retreat and give up 4 out of the 8 states. This way, 9 states would go from 2 forces to 3 forces. However, Imperial City and Dragon Sect were allies in name. Seeing that Imperial City and Ethereal Palace had re-entered 9 states, Nether Mansion and Level 3 Long Family could no longer sit still. The 4 major forces knew that 9 states had Grave of the Gods. If Imperial City and Ethereal Palace could gain a firm foothold, it would not be so difficult for them to re-enter 9 states. Because of this, Level 3 Long Family and Nether Mansion immediately re-entered 9 states. From the beginning, all of them had retreated. Now, 9 states was once again in chaos. The 4 forces fought for supremacy and started to fight with each other. It wasn't easy for them to take over the 4 states. No matter if it was the Imperial City or the Ethereal Palace, they wouldn't hand it over so easily. Therefore, the 4 forces started to fight while the Dragon Sect retreated to the Sky State and quietly watched the 4 forces fight. The 4 major forces had a huge grudge to begin with. It had accumulated over the years. In addition to the countless casualties in the previous war, there was no way to ignite it. This time, the 4 major forces were completely enraged. They knew that this was not the best time to start a war, but they could not control themselves. Wave after wave, they poured in endless manpower and money. Gradually, the Great War of the 9 states spread to all places except the Tianzhou. The 4 major forces seemed to have a tacit understanding. No matter who it was, they would not step into Tianzhou. This was giving Dragon Sect enough face. As for the reason, no one knew. Perhaps only the four major forces knew. Imperial City informed Dragon Sect to help. According to the agreement, Imperial City and Dragon Sect were allies. Dragon Sect should help. However, Dragon Sect, Snake Emperor, and Longao all refused. The reason was simple. This was a war between the four major forces. It was not suitable for Dragon Sect to interfere. Imperial City was so angry that they gritted their teeth. However, there was nothing they could do. After all, this was not the time to completely fall out with Dragon Sect. If Dragon Sect went crazy and attacked Imperial City would be in for a real tragedy. P.S. Congratulations on the appearance of the first female elder in this book. Little Nine is sincerely grateful. Little Nine will remember. Chapter 503. The Four Superpowers, East Royal City, Long Family of the West, Nether Mansion of the South, and Ethereal Palace of the North finally settled down after a fierce battle. Since then, the four superpowers had divided the 9 regions, with each superpower occupying 2 regions and Dragon Sect occupying Tianzhou. In other words, the 9 regions had been divided by the 5 superpowers. Strictly speaking, the 4 superpowers had redivided the 9 regions. The short pause would usher in an even more violent storm. Dragon Sect seemed to have completely given up on fighting for the position of the overlord of the 9 regions. They hid in Tianzhou and did not come out. People in the 9 regions slowly began to suspect what had happened to Dragon Sect. Longao had always been high-profile and vengeful. It was impossible for him to be indifferent when he saw the 4 superpowers entering the 9 regions. All the superpowers sent their spies into Tianzhou, wanting to know what had happened to Dragon Sect. Everyone guessed that something had happened to Longao. Spirit region of the 9 regions, Ethereal Palace. After asking around in Ethereal City, Longao knew almost everything about Flying Goose Mountain. Next, he would go to the Water Curtain Cave. This time, Longao was extra careful. No matter what, there were 2 saints in the Water Curtain Cave, so he had to be extra careful. Flying Goose Mountain was a forbidden area of Ethereal Palace. No one was allowed to enter. For 10 years, Flying Goose Mountain had been turned into an iron bucket by Ethereal Palace. Ordinary people were not allowed to enter within 1,000 meters of Flying Goose Mountain. In fact, many people had already guessed that there were treasures in Flying Goose Mountain. Otherwise, Ethereal Palace would not have done this. Guessing was one thing, but very few people actually dared to enter Flying Goose Mountain. It had to be said that there were many people in this world who were not afraid of death. Flying Goose Mountain was a forbidden area of Ethereal Palace, but they still wanted to enter. There could only be one result. Longao was a sage-to-be martial artist. Unless it was a saint, it would be very difficult for anyone to discover his tracks. Quietly arriving at Flying Goose Mountain, Longao first hid all his aura. Then, he carefully sensed the situation around him. Other than some ordinary disciples, there did not seem to be any illusionary divine martial artists. Longao had already guessed that if nothing unexpected happened, the 2 saints should be in the Water Curtain Cave. Longao followed Yin Baishuan's instructions and entered from another passageway entrance. Before long, he had already arrived outside the cave. The entire cave was covered by a water curtain. As expected, the Water Curtain Cave was magnificent. Longao was stunned for a few seconds. If he could bring his lover to live in seclusion here, it would be a good choice. Longao didn't enter the Water Curtain Cave rashly because he was sure that there were 2 saints in the cave. Saints were different from other people. If his aura was sensed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even if he could leave successfully, wouldn't his purpose of coming here be in vain? Long Fu, help me sense the exact location of the 2 saints in the Water Curtain Cave. Also, help me sense what treasures are in the Water Curtain Cave. Master, there are 2 saints in the east and 1 in the west. The treasure in the Water Curtain Cave is very useful. If you can get it, swallow it, refine it, and merge it, you can condense the desolate divine body. Then, even a saint won't be able to break through your physical defense. Divine barren body? Longao was shocked. With Long Fu's help, he had already condensed the divine barren body. According to what Long Fu said, once he condensed the divine barren body, he would be able to fight against a saint. Even if he couldn't defeat a saint, at least he wouldn't be as helpless as before. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. However, Longao didn't act rashly. Looking at the water curtain cave in front of him, he began to think about what he should do to hide from the two saints. Longao was very clear in his heart that the two saints were guarding the water curtain cave, one in the east and one in the west. As long as he stepped in, even if he took half a step, he would be discovered. At that time, not to mention obtaining the treasure, he might not even have the chance to leave. He came to the water curtain and looked through the gaps. Longao finally saw the general situation inside the water curtain cave. The entire water curtain cave was incomparably huge, and in the center, there was a huge pool. Finally, there was a huge rock in the pool, and on top of the rock, there was a kind of plant. It was 7-colored, and on top of it, there were 2 huge fruits. It was very dazzling. Could the treasures that Yin Baishun and Long Fu were talking about be these 2 fruits? Master, these 2 fruits are called divine fruits. Once consumed, not only will one's cultivation increase greatly, it can even help a titled Great Emperor break through to the divine path realm. I didn't expect that there would be 2 divine fruits in the small ethereal palace. Divine fruits. There was no need for Long Fu to explain further. Longao had already guessed the use of the divine fruits. Just the fact that it could increase one's cultivation showed how powerful the divine fruits were. Longao couldn't wait to get the divine fruits. However, at this moment, Long Fu said, "Master, the 2 divine fruits aren't ripe yet. They need to wait until tomorrow evening. Moreover, there is a divine beast guarding the divine fruits. You must be careful." Divine beast? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked. Longao certainly knew what a divine beast represented. There was no doubt that a divine beast was a super existence on the same level as a divine path warrior. Longao never expected that there would be a divine beast in the water curtain cave. If that was the case, didn't it mean that the divine beast was also waiting for the 2 fruits? If he got the fruits, he would offend the divine beast. Longao felt a headache at the thought of it. I think you've already guessed it. That's right. The divine beast in the pond is also here for the 2 divine fruits. Otherwise, it would have left long ago. Long Fu, can you sense what kind of divine beast is in the pond? Water Qilin. Water Qilin? He couldn't help cursing inside. The Qilin race was one of the strongest races in the world. They could even contend against the dragon race. The Qilin race was divided into many races. They were the Golden Qilin race, the Wood Qilin race, the Water Qilin race, the Fire Qilin race, the Earth Qilin race, the Wind Qilin race, the Lightning Qilin race, and so on. However, the Qilin race was very few in number. This was their greatest weakness. Otherwise, the martial heaven continent would be the Qilin race's world. There would be no dragons or humans. Divine beast Water Qilin. Longao's expression was grave. If it was just one divine beast, then that was one thing. But now it was a Water Qilin. Would he still be able to take action tomorrow evening? He didn't fear the 2 saints, but he couldn't ignore the Water Qilin. P.S. Watching TV in the morning, sleeping in the afternoon, today was very comfortable. Chapter 504. Long Fu, is there any way to avoid the divine beast Water Qilin? If it was an ordinary treasure, Longao would have given up on it immediately. No matter what, the divine beast Water Qilin was not to be trifled with. But the problem now was that the 2 divine fruits were too important to him. Putting aside whether he could make a breakthrough in his cultivation, the divine desolate body alone was very important. Master, there is only one way now. What is it? Teleport. As long as you can teleport and snatch the divine fruits the moment they ripen, I believe even the divine beast Water Qilin can't do anything about it. Nodding, Longao understood what Long Fu meant. There was no other way. Long Fu's method was the only way out. Just like that, Longao did not leave the water curtain cave. He stood in front of the water curtain and waited quietly. In fact, Longao was very confused. Why didn't the great emperors of the ethereal palace come out for something as precious as the divine fruits? In the end, Longao guessed that the ethereal palace was too confident. Even if there were two saints guarding the divine fruit, he believed that no one would dare to pull a tooth out of a tiger's mouth. Unknowingly, the next evening arrived. In the water curtain cave, the two saints of the ethereal palace stared at the center of the pond. The two divine fruits were about to ripen. They had been guarding here for 10 whole years. Finally, it was time. It's ripened. Seeing that the god fruit had ripened, the two saints were extremely excited. Just as they were about to make a move, a young man suddenly appeared on the giant rock in the middle. His fiery red hair danced wantonly. Without giving the two saints any chance, Longao directly plucked two god fruits from the plant. He was pleasantly surprised. But at this moment, a terrifying divine Tao aura exploded from the pond and shrouded the three of them. If Longao didn't know about the divine beast water Qilin, he would have been dead by now. But now, Longao knew about the existence of the divine beast water Qilin in advance. He had just obtained two divine fruits and once again used teleportation. In an instant, he appeared 1 meter away. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately used all his strength to leave quickly. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Divine beast. Looking at the huge creature that suddenly appeared from the bottom of the water, the two saints were completely stunned. The two saints had been guarding this place for 10 whole years, but they never knew that there was a divine beast hidden under the pool, and it was the most powerful water Qilin in the world. Everyone knew that the Kirin clan and the Colossal Dragon clan were the most powerful divine beasts in the world. The two saints did not even have the chance to resist. They were so scared that their legs trembled and they almost knelt on the ground. How dare you steal my divine fruit? Die. Lord Divine Beast, it's not us. We don't know what's going on either. The two saints were completely scared out of their wits. They couldn't even speak coherently. After all, it was the water Qilin in front of them. It wasn't some random Tom, Dick, or Harry. In fact, the water Qilin could easily destroy them with a flick of its finger. Die. The water Qilin didn't even listen to the two of them getting to know each other. The two saints seemed to have predicted something. Just as they were about to turn and run, their bodies were suddenly fixed in place. Before they could even let out a scream, the two of them had already been killed. This was the difference between an illusionary divine stage martial artist and a divine stage martial artist. How dare you steal my divine fruit? I'll make you regret being born in this world. The water Qilin didn't seem to be in a hurry. This was the confidence that came from being powerful. Nobody saw how the water Qilin did it. It just disappeared into thin air. Longao was extremely surprised that he managed to steal the two divine fruits using his space teleportation. While he was surprised, he didn't dare to hesitate. After all, the other party was the water Qilin. Once it caught up with him, the consequences would be dire. Longao had used his space teleportation twice consecutively. His soul couldn't support him to use it again. Otherwise, he would lose more than he gained. Brat, I'm going to tear you into pieces. Hearing the voice behind him, Longao was shocked. He didn't even need to turn back to know who had caught up with him. Without any hesitation, he used all his strength and shot forward. Longao was afraid of this and thought of a plan. No matter what, he had entered the territory of the ethereal palace in the spirit domain of the 9 states to deal with the ethereal palace. If he lured the water Qilin to the ethereal palace, wouldn't he be able to kill the water Qilin with a borrowed knife? The ethereal palace was one of the 4 superpowers in the spirit domain of the 9 states. The ethereal palace occupied a few hundred hectares of land, and there was no end in sight. At this moment, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. Without giving the ethereal palace any chance, Longao directly shot towards the ethereal peak. Longao? When Feng Wui and Lu Buming saw Longao, they thought that they had seen wrongly. They rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they had seen a ghost. However, at this moment, before they could react, a terrifying divine Tao aura had already suppressed them. As saints, the two of them certainly knew what had happened. They were so scared that their bodies trembled. They couldn't figure out why there was a divine Tao warrior's aura in the ethereal peak. Divine Tao warriors, the most powerful existence in the world, seemed to be extinct. Anyway, there hadn't been a divine Tao warrior in the 9 states for many years. However, at this moment, the divine Tao warrior's aura meant that a divine Tao warrior had appeared. Get out of my way. The powerful divine Tao aura directly suppressed them. The first expert of the ethereal palace, who was also the only great emperor, was about to come out to see what had happened. However, he was frightened by the sudden divine Tao aura and didn't dare to come out. Under such circumstances, the great emperor didn't care about the ethereal palace at all. He wanted to save his own life first. What a joke. Divine Tao warriors were at the peak of martial Tao. Great emperors were like trash in front of divine Tao warriors. Not to mention resisting, they didn't even have the chance to attack. Under divine Tao, all were ants. The divine beast water Qilin actually didn't attack the ethereal palace. This made Longao extremely depressed. According to his calculation, the divine beast water Qilin was lured to the ethereal palace. Even if it didn't destroy the ethereal palace, it would at least bring some losses to the ethereal palace. But what was the result? Longao was annoyed. He didn't care whether the other party was the divine beast water Qilin or not. He scolded, "Damn you. Why do you keep chasing me? There are so many people here. You can just kill a few of them, especially the great emperor of the ethereal palace. If you kill him, I will immediately return the 2 divine fruits to you." Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that with the speed of the water Qilin, it wouldn't be difficult for it to catch up with him. However, the water Qilin didn't do so. What was the reason? It was simple. The water Qilin did it on purpose. It was like he was a mouse and the water Qilin was a cat. Chapter 505. Hearing Longao roar, all the experts of Ethereal Palace were dumbfounded. Longao scolded a supreme Tao martial artist? This world was too crazy. Longao even dared to scold a supreme Tao martial artist. What kind of existence was a supreme Tao martial artist? It was a super existence that stood at the peak of martial arts. It was simply a matter of minutes for them to kill a semi-sage martial artist. Boy, you are very arrogant. Not bad, not bad. The more Longao behaved like this, the more the water Qilin didn't attack Ethereal Palace. Anyway, it chased after him unhurriedly. Longao and the water Qilin's speed were very fast. In the blink of an eye, the two had disappeared without a trace. Until now, everyone in Ethereal Palace heaved a sigh of relief. It was a close call. What the hell happened just now? It must be our illusion. It is very likely that Longao played a trick. Yes, you are absolutely right. Feng Wui and Lu Bumming swallowed their saliva fiercely. Both of them were deceiving themselves. They were not willing to believe that Longao was being chased by a supreme Tao martial artist. Of course, both of them hoped that Longao would die. But to say that a supreme Tao martial artist was chasing after Longao, they were not willing to believe it was true even if they were beaten to death. Being chased by the water Qilin, Longao could be considered to be extremely depressed. Longao was very clear in his heart. In this case, even if he handed over the 2 divine fruits, he believed that the water Qilin wouldn't let it go. Water Qilin, treasures belong to those who are capable. Since I have already obtained 2 divine fruits, you should be selfish. Why bother to chase after me? F***ck off. I have waited bitterly for 10 years. When the 2 divine fruits were about to be in my hands, you shameless human beat me to it. Now you are still making sarcastic remarks. If I don't tear you into pieces, I am not a Qilin. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Since the 2 divine fruits have already been obtained by me, you have to accept the reality. If Longao's words were heard by others, it was unknown whether it would cause a shock in the world. He actually made a divine beast accept the reality? In this world, who would dare to snatch the mythological beast's things? Longao was absolutely unprecedented. F***ck. The water Qilin seemed to be completely infuriated by Longao. Its speed suddenly increased by 3 times. What concept was this? Just as the water Qilin was about to catch up, its face suddenly changed. Because at this time, Longao's body suddenly disappeared. That's right, he disappeared into thin air. In the next second, Longao's body had already appeared 1 meter behind him. Space teleportation? The water Qilin was stupefied on the spot. It seemed to be in disbelief because this kind of divine ability was something that even a martial artist of the divine Tao couldn't do. At the very least, he couldn't do it. What an interesting kid. I'd like to see what other secrets you have. Dragon Sect, Tianzhou, Dragon Sect. The situation that had just stabilized completely erupted once again. Serene Hades Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and third-grade dragon family. It was unknown if they had already formed an alliance. They temporarily put aside their grudges and attacked Tianzhou together. As an alliance, the Imperial City should have helped Dragon Sect to fight against the three forces. But in the end, the Imperial City ignored it. It was as if the Imperial City and Dragon Sect weren't in an alliance. From the beginning to the end, Dragon Sect didn't expect the Imperial City to help. Because the Dragon Sect had already guessed this. It would be strange if the Imperial City helped. Dragon Sect, Main Hall. At this moment, the Serpent Emperor's face was very solemn. This time, the sect master had left and handed over the authority of the Dragon Sect to him. If anything were to happen to the Dragon Sect in his hands, how would he explain it to the sect master? Damn the Imperial City. After cursing, the Snake Emperor looked at Xia Jun and Ouyang Fei and asked, "Do you two have any good suggestions?" The Snake Emperor knew that whether it was Xia Jun or Ouyang Fei, they were the master's good brothers. Sometimes, he had to give them face. Before Xia Jun and Ouyang Fei could speak, footsteps came from outside. The Ghost King rushed in. As soon as he stepped into the main hall, he said, "I know that the three forces have started to attack Tianzhou. So, I rushed back as soon as I got the news." Although the Ghost King sect was an independent existence, the Ghost King wasn't stupid. According to the Ghost King sect's current strength, if anything happened to Dragon Sect, the Ghost King sect would end up badly. Because of this, the Ghost King brought the Ghost King sect back to Dragon Sect when he got the news that the three forces were attacking Dragon Sect. He didn't care if he lived or died with Dragon Sect. The Snake Emperor didn't dare to offend the master's future father-in-law. The Snake Emperor smiled and said, "Ghost King, now that the three forces are attacking from different directions, what do you think we should do?" "Retreat and preserve our strength. We'll wait for the master to come back." Dragon Sect was protected by a formation and had an army of corpse slaves. Because of this, the Snake Emperor was so confident. Originally, the Snake Emperor wanted to fight the three forces head-on and start a fight for Juzhou. But the Snake Emperor knew that the Ghost King represented the master. Because even if the master was here, he was prepared to endure and not fight the three forces head-on. After thinking about it, the Snake Emperor could only choose to compromise. Nodding, the Snake Emperor said, "If that's the case, I'll summon all my disciples back. Revenge is a dish best served cold." As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. As long as we avoid this period of time and wait for Dragon Sect to fully develop, it won't be too late for revenge. How could the Ghost King not know what the Snake Emperor was thinking? Strictly speaking, the difference in status and strength between the Snake Emperor and the Ghost King was huge. But the Ghost King was more suitable to be the leader of a sect than the Snake Emperor because the Ghost King was flexible. Just like that, Dragon Sect chose to endure for now and summoned all their disciples back. The three forces easily took over Tianzhou but didn't dare to attack Dragon Sect. Everyone knew that there was a powerful array in the Dragon Sect. Back then, Longao had relied on the array to repeatedly injure the four major forces. As such, unless the four major forces had water in their heads, they would absolutely not dare to rashly attack the Dragon Sect. The three forces easily took over Tianzhou, causing everyone in Tianzhou to lose faith in Longao. Originally, Longao would counterattack again, but they didn't expect that Longao was like a coward. He hid in Dragon Sect and didn't dare to come out. At the same time that they lost faith in Dragon Sect, many people in Juzhou blamed the Imperial City. The two forces were in an alliance, but the Imperial City didn't do anything when the three forces attacked Dragon Sect. Just this point alone showed how shameless the Imperial City was. However, the Imperial City seemed to turn a blind eye to all of this. "After all, you're taking over my two states. It's none of my business if you fight to the death. Just like that, the three forces took over Tianzhou. From then on, Dragon Sect was completely wiped out of Jiuzhou. Under normal circumstances, it was almost impossible for Dragon Sect to make a comeback. Chapter 506. Longao didn't know anything about the situation in Jiuzhou. At this moment, Longao was being chased by the water Qilin bitterly. Longao was extremely depressed because the water Qilin's speed could obviously catch up with him, but it was like a cat chasing a mouse. Water Qilin, is there something wrong with your head? Ha ha ha, kid. Aren't you good at running? I want to see how much strength you have. Don't worry, I will play with you. Longao really wanted to beat up the water Qilin. In anger, Longao directly released a powerful qi of heaven and earth. Rather than being chased bitterly, he would rather have a big fight with the water Qilin. If other people knew what Longao was thinking, they might scold him. Want to fight with a supreme Dao warrior? Master, to the front left. Hearing Long Fu's sudden voice, Longao forcibly suppressed his impulse. Finally, he rationally suppressed his impulse because he knew that Long Fu would never harm him. Longao did not dare to hesitate in the slightest. He quickly shot toward the front left. Qi of heaven and earth? Is it nirvana rebirth? Feeling the qi of heaven and earth released by Longao, the water Qilin was greatly shocked because it knew clearly what the qi of heaven and earth represented. There were only two situations in which a half-saint warrior could have the qi of heaven and earth. The first situation was that the half-saint warrior had a fortuitous encounter and condensed his own qi of heaven and earth in advance. The second situation was that the half-saint warrior was the reincarnation of an expert and had the powerful qi of his previous life. It was just that his realm hadn't increased yet. But no matter which situation it was a joke in front of the water Qilin. At this moment, the water Qilin was getting more and more curious. It still followed Longao unhurriedly. Longao was chased by the water Qilin all the way. He had already left Ethereal Palace's sphere of influence and came to a barren land. There were no people around, not even birds or beasts. Looking around, Longao didn't know why Long Fu wanted him to come here. Could it be that he wanted to rely on the environment here to deal with the water Qilin? From the beginning to the end, Longao had never thought of killing the water Qilin. After all, the strength of a divine beast was there. With his current strength, as long as the water Qilin was willing, it only needed to move its fingers to easily obliterate him. This was the difference in strength. Long Fu, what should I do next? Master, the water Qilin is too powerful. Even if old master were to take action, he might not be able to suppress the water Qilin. Therefore, he could only rely on the power of heaven and earth to scare the water Qilin away. Longao instantly understood what Long Fu meant. Thinking about it, this was the only way to temporarily suppress the water Qilin. Longao knew that if the primordial divine dragon's original body existed, not to mention one water Qilin, even 10,000 water Qilins wouldn't be a match for the primordial divine dragon. But now, the situation was completely different. Back then, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon fought Tian Dao together. Long Tian was killed directly. The primordial divine dragon's body exploded and its divine soul was severely injured. Until now, it was even facing the danger of disappearing at any time. With the primordial divine dragon's current strength, how could it forcefully suppress the water Qilin? Master, do as I say. In such a critical moment, how could Longao not listen? Moreover, he had enough of the water Qilin's cat-and-mouse game. Coming to an open space, the entire world was gray. Longao followed Long Fu's instructions and released a powerful qi of heaven and earth in an attempt to connect with the surrounding power of heaven and earth. Long Fu's intention was very simple. He wanted Longao to release the qi of heaven and earth and connect with the power of heaven and earth. Then, the primordial divine dragon could use the qi of heaven and earth to suppress the water Qilin. Young lad, why aren't you running? Seeing Longao suddenly stop and release the qi of heaven and earth, the water Qilin was shocked. It did not know what this young lad wanted. Could it be that he wanted to fight with it? Water Qilin, as a divine beast, you are shamelessly chasing after me. I want to ask you, do you have any shame? Young lad, You don't have to be so stubborn. Since you dared to steal my 2 god fruits, I will slowly tear you apart piece by piece." His face was filled with disdain and contempt. Longao continued to release the chi of heaven and earth. He did not attack the water Qilin. Instead, he quietly sensed the chi of heaven and earth and said, "Water Qilin, do you dare to make a bet with me? Let's hear it." The water Qilin seemed to have been lonely for a long time and was very curious. It stood on the spot lazily and looked indifferently at the human youth in front of it. Its powerful strength gave it confidence. In the eyes of the water Qilin, no matter what Longao did, he would not be able to defeat it. The difference between the illusionary divine stage and the divine stage was not something that an ordinary person could imagine. "Water Qilin, do you dare to suppress your cultivation level and have a fair fight with me? If you win, not only will I return the 2 god fruits to you, I will also be at your disposal. How about that?" "Ha ha ha, young lad, you are too naive." Hearing Longao's words, the water Qilin suddenly laughed as though it had heard the funniest thing in the world. "Water Qilin, don't tell me you don't dare?" Longao's intention was clear. He wanted to stall for time. Until now, he was still unable to sense the chi of heaven and earth. If that was the case, the primordial divine dragon in the dragon seal space would not be able to help him. "It's not that I don't dare, it's just that I don't want to play with you like this. I originally wanted to tease you, but now it seems that the secret on your body is not bad. I will kill you and search your soul." Ha ha ha. Longao continued to endure and did not attack immediately. He was waiting for the chi of heaven and earth that he released to communicate with the chi of heaven and earth so that the primordial divine dragon would help him. "Coward, I really feel sad for the Qilin clan. They actually have a clansman like you." Sigh. Hearing Longao's words, the water Qilin's expression finally changed. It coldly said, "You dare to insult the Qilin clan. Your crime is unforgivable. Originally, you could have lived for a few more hours, but now I sentence you to death." As a member of the Qilin clan, the water Qilin naturally wouldn't allow a human to insult his clan. If this matter were to spread back, how would he establish himself in the Qilin clan? He would be ridiculed by the world. As a divine beast, the water Qilin did not place Longao in its eyes. It ruthlessly slapped its palm. In the water Qilin's opinion, this palm was enough to easily obliterate Longao. Just at this moment, a dragon's roar resounded. It was eternal and filled with vicissitudes of life. Immediately after, a black dragon's shadow appeared above Longao. It was constantly flying and spiraling. Looking from below, the entire illusory dragon's shadow covered the entire 9 heavens. The terrifying chi of the divine dragon shrouded the water Qilin. The dragon's roar resounded again, one after another, resounding through the horizon. Primordial divine dragon. Impossible, impossible. This is impossible. Chapter 507. Staring blankly at the dragon's shadow that suddenly appeared in front of him, the water Qilin was completely stunned. As a divine beast of the Qilin clan, the water Qilin naturally knew about the existence of the primordial divine dragon. In ancient times, a super expert appeared in the dragon clan, and it was the primordial divine dragon. It was also because of the primordial divine dragon that the dragon clan prospered. However, because Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon went against the heavenly Tao, they were mercilessly wiped out by the heavenly Tao. As a result, the primordial divine dragon fell. This was something that everyone knew. In that case, could the primordial divine dragon that appeared in front of him be fake? The primordial divine dragon might be fake, but the aura that belonged to the primordial divine dragon couldn't be fake. Because of this, the water Qilin was 100% sure that the dragon shadow that suddenly appeared in front of him was the so-called primordial divine dragon that had fallen. "Water Qilin, Senior Divine Dragon, what are your orders?" The water Qilin was so frightened that his body trembled. He had a feeling that the primordial divine dragon in front of him could easily wipe him out as long as he moved his aura. It was too terrifying. This was the true strength of the number 1 expert of the dragon clan. "Do you know the background of the person you were chasing just now?" "I don't know. Senior Divine Dragon, please enlighten me." Longao, the inheritor of my primordial divine dragon. With a simple sentence, the water Chilen's face turned extremely ugly because he knew clearly the meaning of the primordial divine dragon's words. Since this kid was the inheritor of the primordial divine dragon, he couldn't continue to deal with him. The unwillingness in his heart turned into anger, but he could only keep it in his heart. He didn't dare to show the slightest bit of anger on his face. The primordial divine dragon, the #1 expert of the dragon clan, was a super existence that went against the heavenly Tao. Water Chilen, you're not convinced? How could he dare not to be convinced? After cursing in his heart, the Water Chilen said respectfully, Senior Divine Dragon, I'm not unconvinced, but this kid snatched 2 of my divine fruits. I just want them back. The 2 divine fruits now belong to Longao. The Water Chilen's face turned cold, but he didn't dare to say anything. He had to admit that the primordial divine dragon was domineering, but he had the right to be domineering. Senior Divine Dragon, if my family ancestor knows that you're still alive, he will definitely be happy. The old ancestor of the Chilen clan? Just as the Water Chilen finished speaking, a hole was forcefully torn open in the void. At this moment, a Chilen phantom suddenly appeared. It was 100,000 feet tall phantom that faced the primordial divine dragon. Immemorial Chilen. Whether it was the primordial divine dragon or the primordial Chilen, they were the strongest existences in ancient times. However, the primordial divine dragon was eventually killed by the heavenly Tao, causing the overall strength of the dragon clan to slowly weaken to that of the Chilen clan. Old friend, I'm really happy to have met you. It's really unbelievable that your soul hasn't been wiped out by the heavenly Tao. Humph. Seeing the immemorial Chilen, the primordial divine dragon seemed to be very unhappy and snorted coldly. However, the primordial divine dragon was very surprised. He didn't know why the Chilen could sense his aura when he had just appeared. As if it could guess what the primordial divine dragon was thinking, the primordial Chilen suddenly smiled and said, Old friend, don't worry. The heavenly Tao doesn't know of your existence. The reason why I can sense your appearance is because of my Chilen clan's treasure. The primordial divine dragon was well aware of the power of the Chilen clan's supreme treasure. I want revenge. With a deep sigh, the primordial Chilen said helplessly, It's been so many years and you're still so stubborn. Even though you know it's impossible, you still insist on doing it. The heavenly Tao isn't something we can shake. I don't care. I swear to wipe out the heavenly Tao. With just him being glanced at by the primordial Chilen, Longao's body shuddered. What terrifying strength! Longao knew very well that the huge Chilen shadow that suddenly appeared in front of him was the old ancestor of the Chilen clan. It was a super existence on the same level as the primordial divine dragon. It was just that the primordial Chilen hadn't fallen and still existed in the world. It was too powerful. In front of such a super existence, Longao didn't even have the thought of resisting. He is the inheritor I found, and my only hope. Shaking its head in disdain, the primordial Chilen said, his strength and talent are average. There's no hope for revenge. As if ignoring the primordial Chilen's disdain, the primordial divine dragon said firmly, I believe in my choice. Primordial Chilen, your clansmen wanted to kill my successor. How should we settle this debt? How do you want to settle it? Leave his divine soul behind. Hearing this, the Water Chilen was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. He wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew why the primordial divine dragon wanted to leave his divine soul behind. He looked at his old ancestor pitifully and didn't say a word. However, his eyes and expression had already explained everything. Useless thing, get lost. The Water Chilen was instantly delighted. Even though the old ancestor was scolding him, the more the old ancestor was like this, the more it was impossible for the old ancestor to give up on him. No matter what, the old ancestor was in existence on the same level as the primordial divine dragon. As long as the old ancestor took action, the primordial divine dragon wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Old friend, it's clear who's right and who's wrong. I don't want to say anything more. My clansmen won't be left behind unless you want to fight with me. However, if it was in ancient times, I might not be your opponent. But now, The primordial Qilin didn't continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. That is, with your current strength, you're not my opponent at all. If you insist on having your own way, you'll only be humiliating yourself. How could the primordial divine dragon not know about this? He stared at the huge Qilin phantom in front of him. In fact, the primordial divine dragon was full of confidence. If he chose to perish together with the Qilin, he could easily injure the Qilin's divine soul. However, he only had one goal, which was to seek revenge from the heavenly Tao. In the end, the primordial divine dragon chose to compromise. Primordial Qilin, I hope to get your help. Old friend, I know what you mean, but I can tell you clearly that I won't help you. If I did, I would have already taken action when you and Long Tian were fighting against the heavenly Tao. I don't have your courage to fight against the heavenly Tao. Before the primordial divine dragon spoke, the primordial Qilin continued. Do you know why the heavenly Tao doesn't destroy the dragon clan? It's very simple. The heavenly Tao wants to use the dragon clan to lure you out. Since we're old friends, I advise you to give up this idea. As long as your divine soul isn't destroyed, I believe the heavenly Tao won't deal with the dragon clan. It can be considered as preserving a trace of the dragon clan. Otherwise, the dragon clan will be destroyed. Hearing the primordial Qilin's words, Longao finally knew why the heavenly Tao didn't destroy the dragon clan. Chapter 508. Longao couldn't figure out why the heavenly axiom didn't deal with the dragon clan when it had already killed the primordial divine dragon. Longao didn't believe that the heavenly axiom didn't know about this. Since it knew, why did it still find trouble for him? In the end, the heavenly axiom was still afraid of the primordial divine dragon and wanted to use the dragon clan to lure the primordial divine dragon out. What a shameless heavenly axiom. Primordial Qilin, although you're unwilling to help me, I hope you can keep this a secret. I can promise you that. The primordial divine dragon and the primordial Qilin didn't say anything. Then, the two primordial divine beasts disappeared at the same time, and the water Qilin was taken away by the primordial Qilin. At this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He never thought that this matter would lure out the ancestor of the Qilin clan, the primordial Qilin. Master, leave this place quickly. Longao, who was about to sit down and rest, suddenly heard Long Fu's anxious voice. He was very curious. However, he still chose to believe in Long Fu and left the place as quickly as possible. Soon after, the 9 heavens were forcefully torn open, and a huge face suddenly appeared. If Longao was here, he would be shocked to find that the huge face that suddenly appeared was the heavenly axiom that he had dreamed of. It was almost exactly the same. The aura of the primordial divine dragon? After waiting for so many years, you finally appeared. I'd like to see how you're going to escape from my hands this time. The huge face sneered. In the next second, the huge face disappeared without a trace. It was still a barren land, as if nothing had happened. The heavenly axiom descended, but it was a step too late. One had to admit that the primordial divine dragon and the primordial Qilin left quickly. Otherwise, no matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to leave this place. The heavenly axiom was the most powerful existence in the world. Even if Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for the heavenly axiom. In the dragon seal space, the primordial divine dragon looked very weak. Tens of thousands of dragon shadows circled in the dragon shadow space, and an ancient and majestic voice sounded. Longao, the primordial Qilin has already discovered me. In a short period of time, I won't be able to help you. Moreover, after forcefully suppressing the water Qilin, my soul needs to rest for a period of time. Senior Dragon God, don't worry. I'll be careful. Longao was well aware of the primordial mystical dragon's intentions. No matter what, the primordial mystical dragon's original body had perished and its spirit had been severely injured. Now that it had forcefully helped him, its spirit had been damaged once again. Longao, if nothing unexpected happens, the heavenly Tao must have sensed my aura. It's just that it won't be able to find me in a short period of time, so you must increase your strength as quickly as possible. I understand. After the primordial divine dragon finished speaking, it was clearly extremely weak and returned to the blood pool. Long Fu, I really want to ask, what kind of existence is the heavenly Tao? Was he a warrior? Or a divine beast? I don't know. You don't know? Hearing Long Fu's words, Long Ao's face froze. What kind of existence was the heavenly Tao? Master, the heavenly Tao can be said to be an illusory existence. It's the existence that truly stands at the pinnacle of heaven and earth. Even the two masters back then couldn't defeat the heavenly Tao. Just think about it, and you'll know how terrifying the strength of the heavenly Tao is. Nodding his head, Long Ao didn't continue asking because there was no need for Long Fu to explain the strength of the heavenly Tao. Meeting the ancestor of the Qilin clan this time was the most shocking thing for Long Ao because no matter what, the primordial Qilin and the primordial mystical dragon were super existences at the same level. Even if their strength wasn't as strong as the heavenly Tao, they were still considered one of the top existences in the continent. Taking a deep breath, Long Ao still had some lingering fear. If it wasn't for the sudden appearance of the primordial mystical dragon this time, he believed that it would be difficult for him to resist the water Qilin. Even so, Long Ao knew that it would be difficult for the primordial mystical dragon to help him in the future. If he were to meet another divine beast or divine warrior, would he still have such good luck? Strength, in the end, it was still because he wasn't strong enough. Otherwise, if he were to meet a strong enemy, he might not even be able to keep his life. Long Ao didn't continue to dwell on this problem and took out 2 divine fruits. According to Long Fu, as long as he consumed 1 divine fruit, not only would his cultivation increase greatly, he could even condense the desolate divine body. This time, after encountering the water Qilin and almost losing his life, Long Ao still didn't choose to give up and didn't return to his family. Instead, he continued to enter the ethereal city and assassinate the disciples and elders of the ethereal palace. However, at this time, Long Ao already knew about the matters of the 9 states. He never expected that the rank 3 dragon family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace would suddenly intervene in the 9 states and enter the Tianzhou. Hearing that the dragon sect didn't fight them head-on and chose to retreat, Long Ao let out a long sigh of relief. No matter what, the strength of the 3 major forces was there. If the sects chose to fight head-on, the consequences would be unimaginable. Long Ao wasn't surprised that the Imperial City didn't help the dragon sect. This was because from the beginning to the end, he had never believed in the shameless Imperial City. The alliance between the Imperial City and the Imperial City this time was just a temporary measure. After thinking about it, Long Ao finally decided to ignore the matters of the 9 states. The most important thing now was to assassinate the upper echelons of the Ethereal Palace. Once he succeeded, the Ethereal Palace would have no choice but to withdraw from the 9 states. As for the remaining rank 3 dragon family and Nether Mansion, Long Ao didn't plan to look for them so quickly. However, since the 2 families were so reckless, it seemed that he had to repay them well. Otherwise, the Nether Mansion and rank 3 dragon family would really think that he was easy to bully. Ethereal City. When Long Ao returned to the Ethereal City, he learned that Yin Baishun had resigned from the position of elder of the Ethereal Palace. It was said that he was living in seclusion. Long Ao was very grateful to this old man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get 2 divine fruits. At this time, Long Ao didn't continue to hesitate. He began to assassinate, focusing on the super disciples and guardian elders of the Ethereal Palace. Long Ao was a half-saint warrior. Unless a saint appeared, no one below the saint realm could resist his assassination. In this way, without the knowledge of the Ethereal Palace, Long Ao had begun his assassination. The news that Long Ao was being hunted by a supreme Tao warrior had spread throughout the 9 states. The first reaction of anyone who received the news was that they didn't believe it. What a joke. A supreme Tao warrior was hunting down Long Ao? A supreme Tao warrior was the most powerful warrior. Even if Long Ao liked to play counterattacks, it was impossible for him to provoke a supreme Tao warrior. Moreover, the supreme Tao warrior had disappeared for many years. When did a supreme Tao warrior come out? Everyone was scolding the Ethereal Palace for being shameless. They thought that the ethereal palace was spreading rumors to disrupt the morale of the dragon sect so that they could take advantage of the situation. Chapter 509. Dragon Sect did not believe the news released by Ethereal Palace at all. Ethereal Palace was very depressed. It was obvious that Longao was being hunted down by a supreme Tao warrior. Why did no one believe it? If Ethereal Palace said this a year ago, 99 out of 100 people would choose to believe it. However, since Ethereal Palace and Longao started the war, their reputation had almost been ruined. Ethereal Palace. What's going on? Elders, I don't know what happened. Recently, many outstanding disciples in the sect have been assassinated. Even some elders and protectors were not spared. Hearing this, both Feng Wui and Lu Buming's faces were extremely gloomy. Could it be him? Both of them thought of the same person at the same time. That was Longao. Impossible. Longao is being hunted down by a supreme Tao warrior. Even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms, he will definitely die. You're right. It's impossible for Longao. But other than this guy, who else dares to go against Ethereal Palace? Both of them fell into silence because they did not know what had happened from the beginning to the end. They could not figure out who was so fearless to provoke the lion and pull the tooth out of the tiger's mouth. After a deep sigh, Feng Wui said helplessly, "This time the sect lost 2 divine fruits. Ancestor is very angry." Well, this should be a blessing in disguise. 2 elders were killed. Just think about it, and you know what happened in the Water Curtain Cave. You mean there is a supreme Tao warrior in the Water Curtain Cave? I can say that Longao went to the Water Curtain Cave this time and encountered a supreme Tao warrior to snatch the divine fruits. Although I don't know why he was being hunted down by a supreme Tao warrior, this is the only explanation. Just when Feng Wui and Lu Buming could not figure it out, Longao had already left Ethereal City and was heading towards the Imperial City. In the Imperial City, Duan He and Duan Kai were surprised to hear that Longao had entered the Imperial City. However, Dragon Sect and the Imperial City had always been in an alliance. At least they had not fallen out yet. If they fell out so easily, Duan He and Duan Kai would not have chosen to ally with Dragon Sect. Master Dragon, we are honored by your presence. Please forgive us for not going out to meet you. Looking at the 2 of them, Longao's heart was filled with disdain. However, he still said the same thing. The current situation was simply not the right time to shed all pretense of cordiality. At the very least, the Dragon Sect had to be thoroughly developed. Brother Duan, I've come here for a purpose. I want to ask the 2 of you, is the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect still considered an alliance? The 2 of them sneered in their hearts. They had already guessed that Longao would do this. Duan He smiled and said, "Master Dragon, you must be joking. The Royal City and the Dragon Sect are allies. If that's the case, then I would like to ask, since we are allies, why didn't the Royal City help when the 3 forces attacked Tianzhou? Is this what you call an alliance?" Longao's tone was clearly questioning, which made Duan He and Duan Kai's expressions change slightly. However, the 2 of them suppressed it in the end. Duan He said, "Master Dragon, it seems that you don't understand the situation. Since we are allies, why didn't the Dragon Sect help us when the Imperial City and the other 3 forces fought over the 9 states and invited the Dragon Sect?" Of course, Longao knew this very well. It was also because of this that Longao was very depressed. If he was in the sect, he would definitely send a small group of people, even if it was just for show. No matter who is right and who is wrong, I am not in the sect. I just want to know one thing. Will the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect still be allies in the future? Of course, Master Dragon. I hope you understand that the alliance is not one-sided. If the Dragon Sect does not want to be allies, then there is nothing we can do. Seeing that the 2 sides were about to break down, Duan Kai, who had not spoken, suddenly laughed and said, "Master Dragon, this is all a misunderstanding. Please sit. Let's discuss the future." The 3 of them entered the pavilion and sat down. "Master Dragon, we heard that you were being chased by a supreme Tao warrior. Is this true?" Both Duan He and Duan Kai were very concerned about this matter. No matter what, a supreme Tao warrior was a legendary existence. No one had seen a real Supreme Tao warrior. In fact, the two of them already had an answer in their hearts. If Longao was really being chased by a Supreme Tao warrior, would he still come to the Imperial City this time? Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao said, "Although I don't know who started the rumor, I'm sitting here perfectly fine. If I'm being chased by a Supreme Tao martial artist, do you two think you can still see me?" Nodding, Duan Kai said, "It seems that the Misty Palace is doing this on purpose. They just want to take over the Tianzhou and the Dragon Sect. Master Dragon, I believe you are already clear about the current situation in the 9 states. In that case, we would like to hear what you plan to do next." Counterattack? Counterattack? Yes, counterattack. In fact, the third-grade Long family, the Misty Palace, and the Nether Mansion have always been at odds with each other. Previously, they had a great battle and suffered countless casualties. If we can sow discord between them, I believe the 3 forces will soon be divided. At that time, it will be much easier for us to defeat them one by one. Sect Leader Long, to be honest, it's not easy to sow discord. Now that the 3 major forces have each occupied 2 prefectures, unless something major happens, I believe that the 3 major forces won't easily make a move. Moreover, it's a fight to the death. Leave this matter to me, but I have a condition. The Imperial City must help me. Seemingly surprised, Duan Kai and Duan He still nodded. The two of them also wanted to know what method Longao was going to use to sow discord between the 3 forces. Following that, Longao explained his plan. After listening to it, both of them cursed in their hearts for being despicable, but Duan He still agreed. No matter what, if the 3 forces succeeded, it would definitely be beneficial to the Imperial City. Just like that, the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect formed an alliance again. However, this time, the 2 forces seemed to be very low-key and did not spread the news. Because of this, everyone thought that the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect had completely split up. 9 states. The 9 states was completely divided by the 4 forces, but the Imperial City did not enter the Tianzhou. In order to fight for the Tianzhou, the 3 forces had become like fire and water and could start a war at any time. Even so, 10 days had passed, and the 3 forces did not have any intention of making a move. This made the people who wanted to watch a good show very unhappy, not knowing what the 3 forces were thinking. But for some reason, the 3 forces that were originally at peace suddenly started fighting. This time, the battle was very intense, and it was a situation where either one of them would die. Chapter 510. The third-grade Long family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace started a war. There were countless casualties. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. No one knew why the 3 forces suddenly started a war. It was as if it had happened overnight. The Imperial City didn't intend to interfere, but the 3 forces weren't fools. If both sides were injured, the Imperial City would benefit. Since then, the 4 forces started a chaotic war. The war spread from Tianzhou to the entire 9 states. The Dragon Sect didn't participate in the war. Not to mention whether they were strong enough to fight against the 4 forces, there was no need for the Dragon Sect to interfere. 9 states territory, Sin City. Longao didn't continue to assassinate the disciples and elders of Ethereal Palace. Instead, he wanted to devour the 2 divine fruits first. Master, the 2 divine fruits have many uses. If you devour them, you can break through the half-saint realm and directly become a saint. Ordinary people couldn't resist the temptation of directly becoming a saint. However, Longao didn't agree immediately. Instead, he asked, "Long Fu, what other uses do they have?" Longao wasn't a fool. After all, Long Fu must have more benefits. Otherwise, with Long Fu's character, he would definitely let him devour the divine fruits and become a saint. Longao knew Long Fu too well. Master, the divine fruits have many uses. First, they can help you condense the desolate divine body, but it's difficult to improve your realm. Longao understood this very well. After all, he couldn't have both. The other use is to use the power of the divine fruits to refine a divine body puppet. Long Fu, what's a divine body puppet? It's very simple. Master, if we can refine a saint corpse slave now, we can let it fuse with the divine fruits. Its defense alone will increase by 10 times. Plus, it'll be immortal. Longfu didn't continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao began to ponder because he had 3 choices before him. First, he could consume the divine fruit and break through to the saint realm. The second was to help him condense the desolate divine body. The third was to create the most powerful undead puppet. It had to be said that all 3 effects were extremely tempting. No matter which one it was impossible to give up on them. Which one should he choose? Longfu did not rush him as he quietly waited. Just like that, the dragon seal space fell into silence for a moment. After thinking about it, Longao chose to give up on becoming a saint in the end. This was because he knew very well that he could rely on his own efforts and cultivation to increase his cultivation, but the divine desolation body could not be achieved all the time. Longao was about to choose the remaining desolate divine body and divine body puppet, but then Longfu suddenly said, "Master, you know which one to choose? Why is that?" Hearing this, Longao was shocked. He had 2 divine fruits in his hands. Even if he didn't break through, he could at least condense the desolate divine body and divine body puppet. But now, he could only choose one. What about the remaining divine fruit? "Master, 2 divine fruits are only enough for you to condense 1/3 of the desolate divine body." F***ck Longao cursed in his heart. He had never thought that 2 divine fruits could only condense 1/3 of the desolate divine body. Didn't that mean that if he wanted to condense the real desolate divine body, he would need 6 divine fruits? 6 divine fruits. Where would he go to steal the remaining 4? Longao even wanted to give up and focus on devouring the divine fruits to break through to the saint realm. But after thinking about it, he still decided to condense the desolate divine body. After all, in his current situation, he only lacked defensive power in terms of speed, strength, and defense. For attack power, he had the blood-sucking broadsword, heaven and earth's aura, heaven and earth's sorrow, and so on. He could fight against high-level half-saints. For speed, he had the space teleportation, which could ignore many high-level warriors. As for defensive power, it seemed that the desolate divine body alone was not enough. In desperation, Longao could only choose the desolate divine body. "Longfu, let's start." Longfu nodded. He seemed to know that Longao would choose to condense the desolate divine body, so he wasn't surprised. In this way, Longao directly swallowed the 2 divine fruits and began to condense the so-called desolate divine body. Spirit realm of the 9 states, Imperial City, inside the pavilion. Duan he cursed and said angrily, "Father, Longao, that despicable and shameless thing, originally said that the 3 forces were fighting and we would reap the benefits. But now, we are also involved in the chaos and the dragon sect is staying out of it." Duan Kai's face was gloomy to the extreme, and it was as ugly as it could be, because both of them never thought that Longao would set them up at this time. With the current situation of the chaos, even if the Imperial City wanted to withdraw, it would not be easy. "Father, since Longao doesn't know what's good for him, we don't need to talk nonsense. Let's just destroy the dragon sect." Duan Kai waved his hand, and his face was extremely solemn. He suddenly asked, "Do you know why the other 3 forces don't dare to rashly attack the dragon sect?" Duan he shook his head. He really didn't know about this. Because under normal circumstances, since the 3 forces had already entered Tianzhou, destroying the dragon sect was a must. But what was the result? The 3 forces only cared about the chaos and didn't even bother to deal with the dragon sect. Once the 4 forces were defeated and injured, the dragon sect would be the biggest beneficiary. Back then, Longao caused havoc in the Ethereal Palace. According to the Ethereal Palace, killing Longao was a matter of minutes. But in the end, a titled Great Emperor suddenly appeared. Not only did he take Longao away, but he also represented Longao in the Ethereal Palace to make a 1-year agreement. Duan he wasn't a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind his father's words. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't shocked. "Father, you mean that once the 4 forces attack the dragon sect, I'm afraid that this titled Great Emperor Martial Artist will appear? Duan Kai nodded. Although he didn't want to believe it, he still said helplessly, a titled Great Emperor isn't someone the four forces can provoke. The Dragon Sect's foundation and strength may not be strong, but just having a titled Great Emperor is enough to deter the four forces. Hearing this, Duan Kai finally understood why his father and the three forces didn't dare to easily deal with Longao and the Dragon Sect. In the end, the three forces and his father weren't afraid of Longao and the Dragon Sect. Instead, they were afraid of the titled Great Emperor in the Dragon Sect. Otherwise, the four forces wouldn't even care about a small Longao in the Dragon Sect. Father, if that's the case, what should we do now? Wait and see. See what the three forces will do. We can't take the lead this time. Otherwise, we'll be the ones to suffer. Chapter 5:11. After consuming the two god fruits, Longao spent an entire day and night before he managed to condense 1/3 of his divine desolate body. Even so, Longao was still in awe. He would not have known if he had not condensed it, but the moment he did, he was shocked. Longao had a feeling that even if he stood still and allowed martial artists below the illusionary divine stage to attack him, they would not be able to break through his divine desolate body. Furthermore, Longao was clear that once he had fully condensed his divine desolate body, his physical defense would be comparable to that of the giant dragon race. What did this mean? Longao stretched his back in surprise. After calculating the time, he realized that he had already condensed his divine desolate body for an entire day and night. He could not delay any longer and immediately continued his assassination. In this way, Longao was alone and constantly wandering around the ethereal palace. He didn't kill anyone he saw. Instead, he only killed the most outstanding disciples and powerful guardian elders of the ethereal palace. Longao was very powerful. His speed, defense, and powerful attacks were almost perfect. He could kill all martial artists below the illusionary divine stage in seconds and effortlessly defeat beginner sage to be. Even intermediate sage to be and high sage to be were not a problem for him. Only peak sage to be could cause trouble for Longao. This was Longao's strength. Outstanding disciples, elders, and protectors kept disappearing and their corpses were placed in front of the ethereal palace. This caused everyone in the ethereal palace to be in a state of panic. They did not know what was going on. Everyone was shocked and fearful. No one would have thought that someone would dare to go against the ethereal palace. What kind of joke was this? Was there something wrong with the other party's brain? One had to know that the ethereal palace was one of the 4 superpowers of the spirit domain in the land of the 9 continents. Even the other 3 superpowers did not dare to provoke the ethereal palace, let alone ordinary people. Which idiot was it that dared to provoke the ethereal palace? Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this person was obviously seeking revenge on the ethereal peak. He specifically killed the outstanding disciples, elders, and guardians of the ethereal peak, leaving no way out for himself. Among the higher-ups of the ethereal palace, including Feng Wui and Lu Buming, the first person they guessed was Longao. But after thinking about it, they felt that it was unlikely. No matter what, Longao was being chased by a supreme Dao warrior. His life and death were unknown. How could he free himself to deal with the ethereal palace? This was utter nonsense. Regardless of whether other people believed that Longao was really being chased by a supreme Dao warrior, everyone in the ethereal palace believed it very much, because many people felt the aura of the supreme Dao. If it wasn't Longao, then who could it be? No matter how they thought about it, the ethereal palace could not figure out who it was that wanted to deal with the ethereal palace. However, no matter what, the most mysterious person was also the most terrifying. As long as this person was not eliminated, the ethereal palace would not be at peace. Left with no other choice, the ethereal palace could only choose to withdraw and recall all the disciples they had sent out. After hearing the news, Longao was not surprised at all, because he had already guessed that the ethereal palace would definitely do this. Since the ethereal palace had already started to take precautions, Longao did not continue to assassinate. Assassination like this had to be carried out unintentionally in the ethereal palace, so that it could achieve twice the effect with half the effort. From the beginning to the end, there was only one person who felt the most oppressed, and that was the ethereal palace. They thought that after summoning all the disciples, the other party would definitely be driven to desperate actions and would impulsively attack the ethereal palace. However, since the disciples were summoned back, the other party had completely disappeared. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven to catch this person. After Longao returned to the dragon sect, he immediately called everyone, which could be considered as a high-level meeting of the dragon sect. "Master, you're finally back." Seeing that Longao had returned to the sect smoothly, everyone was pleasantly surprised. Because Longao was the soul of the dragon sect. Once he left, he would basically be paralyzed in the face of major problems. I have a rough understanding of the current situation. First, I'll say two things. All of you, take a seat. Everyone did not stand on ceremony. After all, they knew their master very well. He was a very casual person. Everyone sat down and looked at Longao, wanting to hear what Longao had to say. First, you guys did the right thing. With the current strength of the dragon sect, it's not suitable for us to go head-to-head with the four major forces. But second, when the Imperial City invited us to take action, you guys should not have rejected it. Even if it was just for show, you guys would have made us very passive. Remember, no matter how big the grudge between us and the Imperial City is, we are still allies. No one said anything, but they all realized the seriousness of the problem and nodded their heads. But you guys have done well. Now that the four major forces are in a mess, we just have to wait and see. Master, if the four major forces win, I believe that the next target will be us. Longao waved his hand. How could he not know about the Snake Emperor's worries? He said, if the four major forces dared to attack us, they would have started long ago. They wouldn't have waited until now. Longao was very confident about this because he knew very well that the four major forces did not dare to attack the dragon sect not because they were afraid of him, but because they were afraid of Tong Ling-er. Back when he created havoc in the ethereal palace, Tong Ling-er's sudden appearance shocked the ethereal palace. He believed that the third-rank Long family, the Nether Mansion, and the Imperial City also knew about this. Since that was the case, even if the four major forces were given 100,000 guts, they would not dare to attack him. Longao was almost certain that among the four major forces, the East Royal City, the West third-rank Long family, the South Nether Mansion, and the North Ethereal Palace, the strongest was probably a titled Great Emperor. There was not a single supreme Dao martial artist. Since that was the case, the four major forces would definitely not provoke the dragon sect. Because provoking a titled Great Emperor was not a wise move. The Snake Emperor was very surprised. He did not know why the master was so confident, but since the master had said so, he could not say anything. After all, Longao was the master of the dragon sect. Master, how is Sin City? Other than the chaotic battle between the four forces, everyone was also concerned about another issue, and that was Sin City. As everyone knew, Sin City of the 9 States Spirit Domain was the territory of the sect master. Therefore, the stronger Sin City was, the better it would be for the dragon sect. It's developing pretty well. Once I'm done with the dragon sect, I'll increase the development of Sin City. Also, other than managing the affairs of the sect, you must not slack off on your cultivation. Remember, only by becoming stronger can you develop the power of the sect. Otherwise, everything else is just nonsense. Understood, Master. Longao did not want to say anything more because there were some things that he could only say. As for whether they were willing to do it, it was up to them. Even if he was the master, there was nothing he could do. P.S. Recommendation tickets are free. Everyone, spend some recommendation tickets and some monthly rewards. Thank you for your support. Chapter 512. Dragon Sect. At the peak of the mountain. This battle between the four forces is our best chance. It would be a pity if we give up this chance. Longao clearly understood the meaning behind Ghost King Ao Tion's words. The four forces are not to be underestimated. We have to be careful. I'd rather walk for a few more years than die. But Without waiting for Aotion to speak, Longao had already continued. The chaotic battle between the four major forces seems to be earth-shattering, but in reality, it is simply unable to harm the foundation. So rather than doing useless work, it is better for us to develop our own strength first. Longao didn't want to say much to Aotion. He had to admit that Aotion was very strong. But there was one bad thing about him. He liked to fight for fame and profit. For power, he was willing to give up everything, including his daughter. Because of this, Longao didn't like Aotion. If it wasn't for Aoshue, he wouldn't have allied with Ghost King's sect. Aotion seemed to know this too. He didn't say anything and left quietly. Only Longao was left at the peak of the mountain. Looking at the endless void in the distance, Longao thought of a figure. It was a person he wanted to find even in his dreams. Yuin, where are you? Do you know how much I miss you? I really, really miss you. If you don't leave me, I'll stay with you in life and death. Longao clenched his fists and stared at her. His face was full of determination. The four forces were fighting and Dragon Sect was in seclusion, causing chaos in the 9 states. Everyone was in danger and wanted the four forces to be destroyed. Ever since Longao returned to the sect, he was either setting up formations or refining pills. This was because he was going to refine high-grade pills to help most people in the sect improve. In the end, Dragon Sect's overall strength was still too low. If he wasn't in the sect, Dragon Sect would fall apart. Because of this, Longao was going to improve everyone's strength. If Longao's thoughts were known by others, he wondered if he would be despised. Was it even possible for a collective breakthrough to happen? The imperial city of the Crimson Prefecture almost died of joy upon discovering the 99 steps. The Martial Heaven continent had a total of 99 steps to the heavenly stairway. However, each one of them was a legendary existence because it was very difficult to discover. Initially, the Crimson Province had already been occupied by the imperial city. However, after the matter of the 99 steps to heaven was exposed, the other 3 major forces, the rank 3 Long family, the Nether Mansion, and the Ethereal Palace, immediately began to attack the Crimson Province. In any case, the 4 major forces had already started fighting, and the 3 major forces couldn't care less. According to the legends, the 99 steps of the Celestial Stairway were located in different parts of the Martial Heaven continent. As long as one could reach the peak of the Celestial Stairway, they would be able to obtain supreme martial power. It was precisely because of this that the 4 major forces scolded the 9 great clans of the Crimson Province for not reporting the fact that the Crimson Province had the 99 steps to heaven. If it wasn't for this chaotic battle, it was believed that the 9 great clans of the Crimson Province would have kept the matter of the 99 steps to heaven a secret. However, before the 4 major forces could deal with the 9 great clans, all the 9 great clans had gone into hiding. The 4 major forces couldn't care less about the 9 great clans. They all began to fight over the 99 steps to heaven. However, the 4 major forces helplessly found that in the end, it was all nonsense. After all, anyone could climb the 99 steps to heaven. The 99 steps to heaven seemed like a lot, but the number of people who had actually found the 99 steps to heaven was very few. After finding the 99 steps to heaven, the chaotic battle between the 4 major forces wasn't so intense. That was because everyone wanted to immediately try climbing the 99 steps to heaven. The allure of the legends was too great. Longao, who had also received this news, was also a bit grave. That was because he was the first person in the past century to reach the 99 steps to heaven. Yi Gudu? Longao vaguely remembered that when he reached the peak of the 99 steps to heaven, he met a mysterious expert. Without a doubt, Longao was now finally sure that the mysterious expert he met back then was a powerful warrior of the divine path. Until now, Longao still didn't know why Yi Gudu would appear at the peak of the 99 steps to heaven. Now that he thought about it, Yi Gudu's strength was simply too terrifying. Even when compared to powerful beings like the primordial divine dragon and the primordial Qilin, he wasn't inferior in the slightest. The world was vast, and there were as many experts as there were trees in the forest. Indeed, there was always someone better than you. Longao knew very well that he was still a frog at the bottom of the well. He had only seen the tip of the iceberg of the continent. He seemed to have yet to come into contact with real warriors. For example, the Wanshou sect, the Long family, the Heaven and Earth sect, Yi Gudu, the primordial Qilin. There were too many experts waiting for him. Originally, Longao didn't want to interfere in the battle between the four big forces. However, he was still very concerned about the 99 steps to heaven. Putting aside whether he could reach the peak of the 99 steps to heaven, every step he climbed was a test of his strength. Only through a life and death experience could he have a qualitative breakthrough in his cultivation. The most important thing was that the 99 steps to heaven couldn't be moved. Otherwise, he would have done everything he could to bring the 99 steps to heaven with him. What should he do? Although they had found the 99 steps to heaven, the four big forces were very depressed. This was because countless disciples of the four big forces, including illusionary divine experts, were unable to reach the peak of the steps to heaven. Putting aside the peak, not a single person was able to reach the top 30 steps. It was imaginable how big of a blow this was to the four big forces. But even so, there were still countless people who rushed into the 99 steps of heaven. Each and every one of them did not care about their lives as they stepped on the steps again and again. After a long time, the four major forces also realized a problem. The chaotic scene did not bring any benefits at all. It was because of this that the four big forces came to an agreement. Every day, the four big forces could only send 10 people to climb the 99 steps to heaven. Each person only had 3 chances, and once they failed, they had to leave immediately. The news of the four big forces obtaining the 99 steps to heaven had spread throughout the entire Tianwu continent. Regardless of whether it was the Wanshou sect or the Long family, when these super forces received the news, they didn't put this matter in their eyes. It was as if the 99 steps to heaven were nothing to them. It was because of this that the four big forces heaved a sigh of relief. Without the interference of the super forces, they could finally relax. After settling the 99 steps to heaven, the four big forces started the battle again. This time, the four big forces seemed to be working even harder. This was because this battle was destined to determine who would be the final winner and who would be the final overlord. The winner would be able to become the overlord of the 9 regions and slowly search for the so-called grave of the gods. Chapter 5:13. Longao was prepared to intervene in the matter of the 99 steps, but after thinking about it, he felt that with the sect's current strength, it would be useless even if he intervened. In other words, he could only rely on the corpse slave army. But the corpse slave army's overall strength was weak. Even if they had an undying body, it was impossible for them to chase after the overlord position. With no other choice, Longao informed Dugu Bai and Long Patian to call back the corpse slave army from Sin City. When Longao went to Sin City this time, he had created an army of over 100 corpse slaves. All of them were World King and World Emperor spirit beasts. In addition, they all had undying bodies. One could imagine just how terrifying it was. Just as Longao was about to make a move, something unexpected happened. After a few simple words, Longao immediately left the dragon sect and rushed back to his family. It turned out that for some unknown reason, Aoshue had suddenly fainted. No matter what Long Haosher and the others did, they couldn't wake Aoshue up. Long family, in a very quiet and elegant room. What happened? Ao Tian's face was very ugly because he didn't know what happened to his daughter. No one answered. In fact, in the hearts of the Long family, they didn't like Ao Tian. After all, it was this person who stopped Long Ao and Aoshue from getting together. Long Yi coughed twice. As Long Ao's father, he couldn't ignore his in-laws. He said helplessly, "Brother Ao, I don't know why, but Aoshue suddenly fainted yesterday. We thought of many methods, but we couldn't wake Aoshue up." Nodding, Long Ao roughly understood the situation. He waved his hand and said, "All of you can leave. I'll take care of this." Hearing that, everyone began to leave. Even Proud Heaven didn't want to, but in the end, he still chose to leave. Inside the room, it was very quiet. Besides Long Ao and Aoshue's breathing, there was no other sound. "Aoshue, what's wrong with you?" With a deep sigh, Long Ao appeared to be very calm, but in his heart, he was extremely anxious. He had no idea what was going on with Aoshue at this moment and why she was unconscious. Longao came to the bedside and gently placed his hand on Aoshue's right arm. A gentle energy entered Aoshue's body and slowly moved about as he carefully observed her body. He wanted to find out why Aoshue was unconscious. 2 hours later, Longao almost went berserk because he still couldn't figure out what was going on in Aoshue's body. In the end, Longao helplessly summoned Long Fu and impatiently asked, "Long Fu, what happened to Aoshue?" Nodding, Long Fu didn't say much. He released a wave of energy from his body and silently entered Aoshue's body. After a while, Long Fu's expression became more and more serious. "Long Fu, what's going on?" "Master, Aoshue's body isn't quite right, and someone did something to her body. It seems that you have to find someone to solve this matter." Longao wasn't an idiot. Of course, he understood Long Fu's meaning. With an extremely ugly expression, Longao nodded and immediately left the room. He found Ao Tian and straightforwardly asked, "Uncle Ao, I want to ask you, who did something to Aoshue's body?" Hearing Long Ao's words, Ao Tian's expression changed. Ao Tian never thought that Long Ao would discover the secret in Aoshue's body after just a few minutes of investigation. The more Ao Tian acted like this, the more Long Ao was sure that Ao Tian was hiding something from him. Long Ao didn't say anything, but his expression was extremely ugly. However, because Ao Tian was Aoshue's father, he could only endure it. However, his heart was filled with anger. Was this really Aoshue's father? Clenching his fists tightly, Long Ao forcefully suppressed the anger in his body. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself. After a deep sigh, Ao Tian helplessly said, "I didn't want to talk about this, but since it has already happened, I hope that you won't tell anyone." Okay. Ao Tian understood Long Ao's anger very well. The more Long Ao was like this, the happier Ao Tian was because this showed that Long Ao cared about his daughter. Ao Tian brought Long Ao to a very secluded place with no one around. "Speak. What's going on in Aoshue's body?" "Long Ao, do you know Aoshue's mother?" Shaking his head, Long Ao didn't say anything. He quietly listened because Ao Tian suddenly mentioned Aoshue's mother. Could it be that this matter had something to do with Aoshue's mother? Back then, little Shue's mother and I secretly promised to marry each other. Unexpectedly, we were discovered by little Shue's race. They chased after us, and in the end, little Shue was captured by the enemy. Although I rescued little Shue in the end, little Shue's body was tampered with. Long Ao still didn't say anything. He quietly listened, but his expression was extremely serious. "Long Ao, I know you love Aoshue very much, but I advise you to leave Aoshue. Otherwise, not only will you harm yourself, but also Aoshue." "Why?" "Since things have already reached this point, I won't hide it from you. Little Shue's mother and little Shue are actually not human." "Not human? Little Shue is not human?" Hearing Ao Tian's words, Long Ao's first reaction was disbelief. Because no matter who it was, no one would believe this. It was too boring. Even if Ao Tian didn't want him and Aoshue to be together, he didn't have to do this. Long Ao couldn't understand. According to Ao Tian's character, since things had already reached this point, there was no way he would stop him and Aoshue. Because Ghost King sect was now completely dependent on Dragon sect. Once it broke apart, Ghost King sect would only have one outcome, which was to be instantly destroyed by other forces. Regarding this, as an old fox, Ao Tian couldn't not know. Since that was the case, why was Ao Tian still doing this? Chapter 514. It's been many years, but it's still vivid in my mind. Long Ao seemed to be very anxious, but he still managed to hold it in. Long Ao, Little Snow and her mother are actually a branch of the Phoenix clan. The Phoenix clan. Long Ao was shocked to hear Ao Tian's words. He knew better than anyone what the Phoenix clan represented. The Phoenix clan, Qilin clan, and Giant Dragon clan were the strongest existences in the world. Long Ao never thought that Aoshue would be a member of the Phoenix clan. Long Ao, you don't have to be shocked. Little Snow and her mother only have half of the Phoenix bloodline. Therefore, Unless Little Snow is reborn, she won't become a true phoenix. Longao heaved a sigh of relief, but even so, he was still very curious. Uncle Ao, there's something I don't understand. Since Little Snow and her mother belong to the Phoenix clan, why would the Phoenix clan want to deal with you? Regarding this point, Longao could not figure it out very well. Ao sighed again and said helplessly, if it were an ordinary person, the Phoenix clan wouldn't care at all. However, Little Snow's mother, who is Little Snow's grandmother, is a human, and her grandfather is the Phoenix clan's clan leader. Before Longao could speak, Ao continued. The Phoenix clan feels that Little Snow's grandmother has corrupted the Phoenix clan. Not only did they imprison Little Snow's mother and grandmother, but they also pledged their allegiance to Little Snow's grandfather. So that's the case. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't shocked. Longao already understood the general situation. In the end, Little Snow was the Phoenix clan's clan leader's granddaughter. The Phoenix clan felt that Little Snow's grandmother, mother, and Little Snow had shamed the Phoenix clan, so they wanted to capture them. Since the Phoenix clan wants to deal with you, could it be? The Phoenix clan won't kill me. No matter what, Little Snow and Little Snow's mother have the Phoenix royal bloodline in their veins. Once they are reborn and reach the Nine Changes realm, they will be invincible. Uncle Ao, do you mean that once Aoshue is found out by the Phoenix clan, she will definitely be captured and brought back to the Phoenix clan? That's right. All these years, I've been hiding it very well. But now, I've never thought that Little Snow's fainting would become more and more frequent. If it were to happen again, even the Phoenix clan's patriarch would not be able to do anything. Uncle Ao, what do you mean? Longao, since things have already reached this point, I won't hide it any longer. Little Snow possesses the Phoenix bloodline, but it's not a pure Phoenix bloodline. Because of the Imperial bloodline, Little Snow will faint 9 times. Once she faints for the 9th time, Little Snow will also become a phoenix. Although Ao didn't finish his words, the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao wasn't a fool, so he naturally understood. His expression became extremely solemn as he asked, how many times has it been? The 8th time. The 8th time? In other words, there were only 2 more times before Aoshue would leave this world. Longao asked very gravely, Uncle Ao, how can we save Little Snow? There's only one way, and that is to go to the Phoenix clan and enter the Phoenix Ancestral Hall for a baptism. That way, not only can Little Snow resolve the crisis, she can even awaken her true Imperial bloodline. But at that time, Little Snow will forget everything, including you, me, and everything that happened in the past. Hearing that, Longao's expression became extremely gloomy. He had never imagined that things would develop like this. Was he not going to let Aoshue return to the Phoenix clan? Longao knew very well that between life and memories, both he and Ao would choose Aoshue's life. Longao, I know you're very reluctant to part with her. I'm the same as you. Back then, if it weren't for Little Snow's mother fainting 8 times, I wouldn't have sent Aoshue back. Sigh, your situation is exactly the same as mine back then. Uncle Ao, how do I contact the Phoenix clan? Longao didn't even think about it. No matter what happened, Aoshue's life was the most important thing. So Longao had already decided to send Aoshue back to the Phoenix clan first. According to Ao, Little Snow had already fainted 8 times. Once she fainted 9 times, even if she entered the Phoenix Ancestral Hall for a baptism, it would be useless. It was precisely because of this that Longao decided to send Aoshue back to the Phoenix clan. Even if Aoshue didn't recognize him in the future, it was fine as long as Aoshue was safe. He deeply sighed. Only at that moment did Longao truly experience the taste of powerlessness. No matter if it was Yuin or Aoshue, the 2 women that he loved in his entire life, he was powerless to do anything. One had been taken away by a mysterious old woman, and he was powerless. Aoshue had fainted 8 times, and he was also powerless. There was only one reason for all of this, and that was strength. In the end, his strength was still too low. If he was a god, none of this would be a problem. Have you thought it through? Aoshue's life is more important than anything. Ao's face was full of praise. He nodded and said, it's very simple. Before Little Snow's mother left, She gave me a phoenix feather. As long as I light it, the experts of the Phoenix clan will naturally come. Aotion nodded. At this time, Aotion took out a golden feather from his bosom and gave it to Longao. He said, I'll leave this matter to you. I hope you don't let Ao Shui know. Otherwise, according to Ao Shui's personality, even if she dies, she won't leave you. Understood. Longao stood up and did not continue talking nonsense. He turned around and left. Inside the room, quietly sitting by the bed, Longao stared blankly at the unconscious Ao Shui. He didn't say anything and just quietly looked at her. Everyone in the Long family was very serious because everyone knew what had happened. Although Longao didn't tell everyone about the Phoenix clan, many people knew that Ao Shui was going to leave the Long family. As for where she was going, no one knew what had happened. Everyone in the Long family, including Long Haoshi, Long Yi, and Mu Lin, didn't dare to take a step into the room. Because with Long Ao's growth, Long Ao had become a godlike existence in the Long family. Even Long Haoshi's status couldn't be compared to Long Ao. Father, what should we do now? Waving his hand, Long Haoshi's expression was also very serious. He helplessly sighed and said, We don't know what happened. Ao won't say anything. Now, only one person can go in and persuade him. Everyone naturally knew who Long Haoshi was referring to. Everyone looked at Mu Lin. After returning to the Long Ao family, Long Ao had returned to normal. However, it was because of this that everyone was even more worried. They all thought that Long Ao had been provoked. Ao, are you all right? Shaking his head, Long Ao smiled and said, I'm fine. Ao Shui only had a small problem. I'll definitely find her in the future. All right, grandfather, I have something very important to tell you. But you have to promise me that no matter who it is, you can't tell them. Seeing his grandson speak so seriously, Long Haoshi was very surprised. He said, Don't you know your grandfather's personality? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Long Ao originally didn't want to tell his grandfather. However, things had changed. It was because of this that Long Ao decided to tell his grandfather about the old ancestors' matter. Grandfather, the inheritance you gave Big Brother back then wasn't the old ancestors' inheritance. Impossible. Ao, this matter is very important. Don't talk nonsense. Hearing his grandson say such words, Long Haoshi was shocked. What kind of joke was this? How could the old ancestors' inheritance be fake? The old ancestors' inheritance had been passed down from generation to generation. This time, if it wasn't for Ao, Long Haoshi believed that he wouldn't have taken out the old ancestors' inheritance. Grandfather, listen to me. Since things had already reached this point, Long Ao told his grandfather about the old ancestors' matter in full detail. After hearing this, Long Haoshi was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. This was because he had never imagined that the old ancestor of his family, Long Batian, was actually not a so-called great emperor, but a true divine expert. In other words, he was one of the experts who stood at the peak of the martial Tao. Ao, grandfather wants to ask you for a favor. Let's go. There was no need for his grandfather to say anything. Long Ao already knew what his grandfather wanted to do. He brought Long Haoshi to the back of the mountain and released his aura to sense the old ancestors' divine Tao aura. Just as expected. In a short while, Long Ao had successfully sensed the old ancestors' aura. Before Long Haoshi could react, the two of them were already enveloped by the divine Tao aura and disappeared on the spot. In the cave. Ao, didn't I say that you can't tell anyone about me? Looking at the illusory figure in front of him, there was no need for Long Ao to say anything. Long Haoshi naturally knew who the illusory figure was. He immediately knelt on the ground and said emotionally, This unfilial disciple, Long Haoshi, greets the old ancestor. Rise. As the true master of Long Ao Peak, Long Batian naturally knew who Long Haoshi was. He seemed a little dissatisfied and said unhappily, The family has been in your hands for generations. From a rank 3 Long family to a rank 9 Long family now. You really are worthy of the ancestors of the family. Long Haosher did not dare to stand up. Although he was the most senior person in the Long family, in front of Long Batian, Long Haosher was nothing more than a child. He did not even have the courage to refute. Old ancestor is right. It's this unfilial disciple's fault for not developing the Long family properly. At this moment, Long Ao finally knew that his family was not a rank 9 Long family, but a rank 3 Long family. However, after the old ancestor's death, the family was suppressed and became worse with each generation. From a rank 3 Long family, it directly fell to a rank 9 Long family. Rise. This matter is not entirely your fault. Long family is too shameless. Originally a family, but you can't allow the side branches to develop. If this continues, the Long family will be swallowed up by other forces sooner or later. Long Ao and his wife's grandfather was Long Haosher, and in Long Ao's heart, he was definitely closer to his grandfather than Long Batian. No matter what, Long Batian was just an old ancestor. Who knew how many generations separated them? Long Haosher was still excited at this moment because he had never imagined that he would be able to meet the old ancestor, the legendary #1 expert of the family and also one of the current supreme Tao warriors. If he did not fall, he really did not know how prosperous the family would be. Chapter 5:16. Ao, why did you bring your grandfather here? Long Ao smiled and said, Ancestor, I have a presumptuous request that I hope you can agree to. You want to pass on the divine Tao to your grandfather? Nodding his head, Long Ao also did not have the slightest trace of politeness and said, Old ancestor, since things have already come to this, I will also speak the truth. Long Haosher didn't dare to interrupt. No matter what, the illusory figure in front of him was the ancestor of the clan. Not to mention him, even his late father and grandfather didn't dare to speak loudly in front of the ancestor. Ancestor, with grandfather's strength and the injuries he suffered back then, I believe he will die in less than 10 years. At this point, Long Haosher's body suddenly trembled and he sighed deeply because what Ao said was true. He would die in less than 10 years. Because of this, I hope you can pass on the divine Tao to grandfather. Disciple Long Ao will be eternally grateful. Ao. Looking at Ao beside him, Long Haosher was so emotional that he couldn't speak. With such a grandson, he could die without regrets. Long Batian didn't agree nor disagree. Looking at the two not far away, he suddenly asked, Ao, I want to ask you, if you have the chance to join a Long family in the future and the Long family is willing to focus on you, what will you do? Long Ao didn't know what the ancestor meant. However, Long Ao had already made up his mind. He said honestly, Ancestor, I have some understanding of the Long family. To be honest, I don't like the Long family, so no matter when, I will not join a Long family. And then, I will lead the clan into the Dragon Valley, chase away the Long family, and make the clan the new Long family. Hearing this, Long Haosher was shocked. Although he had always trusted his grandson, would he dare to believe that the clan would move into the Dragon Valley, chase away the Long family, and make the clan the new Long family? Long Haosher didn't, but Long Batian did. Ha ha ha, good, good, good. Long Batian said good 3 times in a row. His face was full of praise. He said, Ao, I believe you. Let me ask again. Has the little guy obtained the divine dragon pearl? Little guy? Who was this little guy? Long Haosher was very curious. He did not know what kind of riddle the old ancestor and Ao were playing. He did not know who this little guy was. However, Long Haosher still didn't dare to ask. Long Ao was not the slightest bit surprised when the old ancestor mentioned the little fellow. He nodded and did not hide anything. He said, Old ancestor, you are right. The little fellow has already obtained the divine dragon pearl. In the future, he will definitely become the dragon god of the dragon clan. Long Batian was very excited. He smiled and said, I can't believe it. The most precious treasure of the dragon clan has been lost for so many years, but Ao, you got it. If the dragon clan knows about this, I wonder what will happen. Long Ao swallowed his saliva fiercely. He could imagine what the dragon clan would do if the matter of the little guy, obtaining the Divine Dragon Pearl was known by the Dragon Clan. What a joke. The Divine Dragon Pearl was the most precious treasure of the Dragon Clan. It was also the symbol of the Dragon God's identity. According to the old ancestor, the Divine Dragon Pearl had been lost for many years. He believed that the Dragon Clan must be looking for it. Ao, can you take out the Divine Dragon Pearl and let me see? Nodding, Longao did not guard against the old ancestor. He took out the Divine Dragon Pearl from the little guy's hand and handed it to the old ancestor. Yes, this is the Divine Dragon Pearl of the Dragon Clan. Once the little guy's strength increases and he refines the Divine Dragon Pearl, he will become the new Dragon God. Hearing this, although he already knew, Longao couldn't help but feel happy. Ao, remember, no matter when, you cannot reveal the Divine Dragon Pearl. Unless the little guy has truly merged with the Divine Dragon Pearl and become the new Dragon God. Do you understand? Ancestor, I will remember. How could Longao not know about the old ancestor's worries? No matter what, the Divine Dragon Pearl was the most precious treasure of the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan had been looking for it for so many years. They must be going crazy. But one must know that as long as one obtained the Divine Dragon Pearl, their strength would definitely increase greatly. If the Dragon Clan obtained it and merged with it, they would become the new Dragon God. Would the Dragon Clan allow such a thing to happen? After receiving the Divine Dragon Pearl from the old ancestor, Longao still asked, Old ancestor, what do you think? I can agree, but I can't inherit it now. At most 3 months, your grandfather can officially accept the inheritance. If there are no accidents, 3 years later, there will be another Divine Path Warrior in the clan. Thank you, old ancestor. If it wasn't for Longao's sharp eyes and quick hands, Longao would have knelt down again. Longao was simply excited to the extreme because he already knew what it meant to be a Divine Path Warrior. As the pinnacle existence in the world, Longao really didn't think that he would one day become a Divine Path Warrior. Thank you, old ancestor. Ao, you really don't want to think about it? If you can accept the inheritance, I can guarantee that you can break through the Nihility God realm and reach the Divine Focus realm. I don't need it. Without even thinking about it, Longao directly refused, because no matter what the reason was, he couldn't inherit the Divine Path inheritance. On one side was his dream to reach the peak of martial Tao, and on the other side was his grandfather. He was determined not to let anything happen to his grandfather. Old ancestor, I want to rely on my own cultivation and hard work to reach the Divine Path. Not only the Nihility God realm or the Divine Focus realm, I want to reach the Heavenly God realm, so I won't accept any inheritance. Being rejected by his own junior, Longbatian didn't feel angry at all. Instead, he praised even more. Well said. With your talent and potential, your future achievement will definitely not be limited to the Nihility God realm or the Divine Focus realm. Peak Heavenly God realm. In a battle between Divine Path Warriors of the same level, breaking through the Divine Path on your own is far better than inheriting the Divine Path. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Longbatian continued, Ao, you leave first. I will inform you after you strip off the Divine Path. Thank you, old ancestor. I will leave first. Take care, old ancestor. Longao wasn't as relaxed as Longao. He was especially reserved. Still, Longao was excited to see the old ancestor. It was impossible for him to be relaxed. Looking at the two figures that had already disappeared, Longbatian also seemed to be very excited. He muttered to himself, I really didn't expect that such a peerless genius would appear in the family. Long family, just you wait. I, Longbatian, will one day return to the Dragon Clan. I will take back twice what I lost. After returning to the family, Longao couldn't calm down for a long time. He was still immersed in the excitement of seeing the old ancestor, causing everyone to be depressed. They didn't know what had happened. Chapter 517. Ao, tell me, how did you find the old ancestor? Longao could understand his grandfather's excitement. In the family, only his grandfather and his brother knew about the old ancestor. Now that his grandfather could see the legendary old ancestor with his own eyes, how could he not be excited? not to mention his grandfather. Even he himself was excited when he saw the old ancestor for the first time. Longao did not hide anything in the slightest and recounted the events that happened some time ago in full detail. After hearing that, Long Haosher also sighed endlessly because Longao said it very easily. However, Long Haosher knew how dangerous the things that happened before were. It was hard to imagine what would happen if domineering was devoured by the divine spirit. When the divine spirit took over domineering's body, the first person it would deal with was undoubtedly his grandson. Next, it would deal with the family. Fortunately, the old ancestor took action personally, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Grandfather, listen to me. You will inherit the divine Tao inheritance in 3 months. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you and the family. You must not miss it. Long Haosher nodded his head. How could he not know about his grandson's good intentions? He was not a fool. When he saw the old ancestor's intention was clear. The divine Tao inheritance was left for Ao. Even if Ao did not want to inherit the divine Tao inheritance, it would not be his turn. Long Haosher knew that the old ancestor would definitely choose a suitable person to inherit the divine Tao inheritance. Everything was because of Ao. Long Haosher was well aware of his own body. He was old and suffered injuries a few years ago. At most, he would not live for more than 10 years. But now, the situation was completely reversed. As long as he could inherit the divine Tao inheritance, not to mention 10 years, even 100 years or 1,000 years would not be a problem. This was the divine Tao. Ao, don't worry. Grandfather knows what to do. Grandfather, I am going to participate in the battle between the 4 major forces. So from now on, if there is nothing else, the family should not go out. As for Long Ao's peak, with the old ancestor there, I believe no one will dare to come. Ao, have you decided? I've decided. Ao, I originally didn't want to ask too much about this matter, but the 4 big powers have already started a chaotic battle. Why do you still want to interfere? If they fight until both sides are injured, you can completely sit back and reap the benefits. Long Ao was very clear about his grandfather's intentions. Grandpa, the chaotic battle between the 4 forces is only on the surface. It won't hurt our foundation. If this continues, our dragon sect will be in a passive position. Let's not talk about other things first. I want to chase all 4 forces out of Tianzhou. From today onwards, Tianzhou will only belong to our dragon sect. No matter who it is, as long as they dare to take a step in, we will kill them without mercy. If Ao had said this to him a year ago, Long Haosher would definitely not have believed him. But now, with the rapid rise of Ao, there were times when Long Haosher found himself getting further and further away from his grandson, to the point where he could not see clearly. However, there was one thing. No matter what, Long Haosher had confidence in his grandson. Ao, do you need help from the clan? There's no need for that. The clan only needs to do one thing well, which is to increase its strength and develop its influence. I got it. Long Ao did not leave the clan immediately. Instead, he accompanied Mu Lin for 3 days. This time, Aoshua's incident was a huge blow to Long Ao's mother, because his mother truly treated Aoshua as her daughter-in-law. Aoshua's incident was considered to have come to an end. Only Long Ao's heart was filled with helplessness and sadness. No one knew. Everyone could only see Long Ao's appearance, but they could not see what was going on in Long Ao's heart. Long Ao returned to the Dragon Sect and immediately found the Ghost King, Snake Emperor, Xiajun, Ouyang Fei, and the others to discuss how to deal with the 4 big powers. Long Ao only had one goal, which was to chase all 4 forces out of Tianzhou. From then on, no one would be allowed to take a step in Tianzhou. As soon as Long Ao returned to the Dragon Sect, he announced this to the 9 states. Everyone who received the news burst into laughter. They all wondered if the Dragon Sect had lost their minds. Who did they think they were to speak to the 4 big powers in such a tone? In everyone's opinion, as long as the 4 big powers were willing, they could destroy the Dragon Sect in a matter of minutes. However, the Dragon Sect had just announced to the 9 states that the Imperial City's people had all left Tianzhou. The alliance between the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect was something that everyone knew. Therefore, it was reasonable for the imperial city to withdraw from the sky region. As for the other three forces, the rank 3 Long family, the Nether Mansion, and the Ethereal Palace, they treated the dragon sect as a fart and continued to do whatever they wanted. They didn't even care about the dragon sect. Dragon sect, Great Hall. After taking a glance, Longao opened his mouth and said, I believe everyone already understands what I mean. It's very simple. I want everyone from the 3 big forces to be chased out of the Tianzhou within 3 days. Those who refuse to comply will be killed without mercy. Hearing the master's words, everyone's expression turned bitter. No matter what, the other party was the 3 big powers. Not to mention dealing with the 3 big powers at the same time. It would be very difficult to deal with them one-on-one. The Snake Emperor stood up and said helplessly, Master, if we fought with all our might before, we might be able to stop the 3 big powers. But now, it's very difficult for us to fight them out. Nodding, Longao said, I know you're worried, but I've made up my mind. This time, I'll fight personally. Hearing that the master was going to fight personally, everyone was shocked. However, ever since the 4 big powers started fighting, the master did not take the initiative to attack. He did not even show his face. Everyone thought that the master had lost his confidence and did not want to fight with the 4 big powers at all. But now, if the master wanted to fight, then he would use such a ruthless move. Not only did he announce it to the 9 states, but he was also going to fight personally. Everyone knew the master's personality very well. Because of this, no one tried to stop him. The Snake Emperor said, Master, since you've decided to fight with the 3 big powers and chase them out of Tianzhou, I hope to be the vanguard. I only need the corpse slave army. Shameless. Despicable. Shameless. Hearing the Snake Emperor's words, everyone cursed in their hearts. Because everyone knew clearly that the dragon sect's strongest force was the corpse slave army. Just the undying body alone was enough for one person to fight against 100. Many people wanted to be the vanguard because with the help of the corpse demon army, it was almost impossible to be defeated. Such a rare opportunity had been snatched by the Snake Emperor. Everyone was fiercely cursing each other in their hearts, and also fiercely cursing themselves. They all blamed themselves for being too slow. Chapter 5:18. How could Longao not know what the Snake Emperor was thinking? He smiled helplessly in his heart. The Snake Emperor was too impatient. He wanted to prove himself in front of Ethereal Palace. Longao knew that it wasn't good for the Snake Emperor to continue like this, but he still nodded and agreed. The Snake Emperor will be the vanguard. Remember, don't act recklessly. I know, Master. Look at the good news I've brought you. Seeing the Snake Emperor turn and leave, everyone's expression turned ugly. If it was any other time, no one would say anything. But now, the Ghost King stood up and said, Master, this is absolutely inappropriate. Uncle Ao, what do you mean? Master, the Snake Emperor has begun to distort himself in order to show off. I'm worried that something will happen to him as the vanguard to deal with the 3 great forces. Ever since Aoshua's secret was revealed, Longao had changed completely. Longao was very pleased with this. Longao certainly knew what everyone was worried about, but things had already come to this point. Could he stop the Snake Emperor? No matter what, the Snake Emperor was Sheiji's brother. As the saying goes, even if you don't look at the monk, you have to look at the Buddha. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this issue. He thought for a moment and said, From now on, the sect will enter a state of battle. No one can be careless. Seeing that the master had made up his mind, everyone sighed deeply. No one said anything. Just like this, the Snake Emperor led hundreds of spirit beast corpse slaves and began to attack the 3 great forces. Longao was afraid that the Snake Emperor would fail. So, the corpse slave army he gave the Snake Emperor were all World Emperor and World King level spirit beast corpse slaves. Just thinking about it made one's hair stand on end. If it was a simple corpse slave army, the 3 great forces wouldn't have to be afraid. But the problem now was that the dragon sect's corpse slave army was immortal. It could fight against 100 by itself. Just like this, the the Snake Emperor led the corpse slave army and gradually drove the three great forces out of Tianzhou. According to Longao's previous orders, once the Snake Emperor chased the three forces out of Tianzhou, he would immediately withdraw to the sect. From then on, the dragon sect would only need to guard Tianzhou, then watch the fire from the other side of the river, and finally reap the benefits. But what was the result? The Snake Emperor didn't care about Longao's orders at all. He secretly led the corpse demon army and killed his way out. This way, even if something happened to the Snake Emperor, the dragon sect wouldn't be able to help. Master, what should we do now? Longao's face did not look too good either, because he never would have thought that the Snake Emperor would disobey orders and lead the corpse slave army out of Tianzhou. Because of this, the house was in a very passive position. How is the Snake Emperor now? Master, this time, the Snake Emperor led the corpse demon army to chase after the three forces and left Tianzhou. He accidentally fell into the three forces trap and is now trapped in by Ling Mountain. As expected, Longao cursed in his heart. The Snake Emperor had been too eager to show off. In the end, he had fallen into the trap of the three great forces. His fate was unknown. Longao wasn't worried about the corpse demon army. After all, the corpse demon army was immortal. It was almost impossible for the three great forces to destroy the corpse demon army. Only the Snake Emperor was troublesome. Sheiji's face didn't look too good either. She was completely helpless against her brother. Longao had finally given her brother a chance. Now, before he could even succeed, his fate was unknown. No one dared to speak as they quietly waited for the master's decision. Ignore it or save it? I'll deal with this personally. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. However, before they could react, Longao stood up and left. Everyone looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. Sheiji especially sighed deeply in her heart and walked towards the back of the mountain. Longao was preparing to lead the corpse demon army to rescue the Snake Emperor. At this moment, Sheiji walked over slowly with guilt and helplessness written all over her face. Before Sheiji could speak, Longao spoke first. There's no need to say more. Whether it's for public or private reasons, I have to save the Snake Emperor. However, after this, the Snake Emperor won't have another chance. I hope you can understand. I understand. My brother was too eager to prove himself to the ethereal palace. This time, he has implicated the sect. I'll apologize to the sect on behalf of my brother. Longao was actually a little unhappy. This was because 80% of the reason why he had given the authority to the Snake Emperor was because of Dugu Bai and Sheiji. Otherwise, not only would he not have given the authority to the Snake Emperor, he might not even have taken the Snake Emperor in. This was what it meant to be unsatisfied. You couldn't blame others. Sheiji, Brother Dugu won't be able to return for a while. If you miss him, why don't you go to the City of Sin? You'll have company. Sheiji wasn't a fool. Of course, she understood what Longao meant. I'll go there later. Longao didn't say any more nonsense. He immediately got up and headed to Bailing Mountain. Originally, he wanted to bring the rest of the corpse slave army. However, after some thought, Longao ultimately chose to give up. The reason was simple. If he brought the corpse slave army with him, wouldn't the sect be in danger when the three major forces lured him away? Thinking of this, Longao was prepared to head there alone. With the sect's current strength, it was impossible for them to be a match for the three major forces. Therefore, no matter who he brought along, it would be like a moth to a flame. Bailing Mountain. It was a strange sight in the Huan state. It was surrounded by mountains, and the terrain was dangerous. The Snake Emperor led the corpse slave army and chased after the ethereal palace's army. He thought that he was invincible. In his arrogance, he was lured into Bailing Mountain by the ethereal palace and was trapped by the three major forces. The Snake Emperor thought that he could force his way out with the corpse slave army. But in the end, he had to admit that the foundation and strength of the three major forces were there. Even if the corpse slave army was immortal, it would be difficult for them to break out. Moreover, if this situation continued, the Snake Emperor and the corpse slave army would definitely die. After being trapped for 3 days, the Snake Emperor was no longer as high-spirited as before. by Ling Mountain. Snake Emperor, as the palace master of the ethereal palace, you betrayed us and helped the dragon sect to deceive your master. Today, I will kill you for the sake of justice. If you know what's good for you, come out and accept your death. The world emperor of the ethereal palace was furious. However, he was also extremely happy. Not everyone could kill the former palace master of the ethereal palace with their own hands. The ethereal palace was heartless to me first. Don't blame me for being unjust. Today, blame me for being reckless. Although I die, I have no regrets. I only hate that I can't kill you trash with my own hands. Ha ha ha, with just you? What a traitorous trash. Snake Emperor, I will kill you with my own hands later. I will strip you naked and let the world see the consequences of being a traitor. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Hearing this, the Snake Emperor's face was extremely cold. P.S. Brothers, there are only 3 disciples left in the top 10 of the fan list. Work hard and surpass them to become deacons. Little 9 is very grateful. Chapter 5:19. The 3 forces were obviously determined to kill him. The third-grade Long family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace each sent a World Emperor into Bai Ling Mountain. Not only that, but Ethereal Palace also sent a half-saint martial artist in order to end the battle quickly. The 3 forces knew very well that Snake Emperor had an invincible army around him. All of them were World Kings and World Emperors with immortal bodies. Because of this, it was not easy to kill Snake Emperor in the midst of an invincible army. After thinking about it, the 3 forces decided that the 3 World Emperors would lure away the invincible army, while the half-saint martial artist would personally kill Snake Emperor. Looking at the half-saint martial artist who suddenly appeared in front of him and was an elder that he knew, Snake Emperor was a little dazed. Once upon a time, he was still the palace master of Ethereal Palace. Would this elder dare to do this? Snake Emperor, since you were once the palace master, you can kill yourself? Bullshit. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to ask me to kill myself? Stubborn. Snake Emperor was only a world emperor. He was not on the same level as a half-saint martial artist. Because of this, the half-saint martial artist did not put Snake Emperor in his eyes. In that case, don't blame me for being impolite. The half-saint martial artist of Ethereal Palace did not continue to talk nonsense. No matter what, Snake Emperor was no longer the palace master in front of him. In the blink of an eye, the 2 were already fighting. In just 10 moves, Snake Emperor could not resist anymore. He was attacked repeatedly and was already injured. Go to hell. However, the half-saint martial artist left quickly and returned even faster. His face was filled with disbelief. Impossible, this is impossible. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared, the half-saint martial artist certainly knew who the young man was. The master of Dragon Sect, Longao, had defeated the 4 forces. He did not care about the legends, but seeing it with his own eyes was a different feeling. You are the master of Dragon Sect, Longao? Nonsense. His face turned cold. The other party was also a half-saint martial artist, and he was also a half-saint martial artist. Why should he be afraid of the other party? Thinking of this, the half-saint martial artist rushed forward with a terrifying Saint Chi aura. Blood Drinker. While releasing the imposing aura of heaven and earth, a huge shadow of a black dragon suddenly appeared on Longao's back. A dragon's roar resounded. Before this semi-sage expert could figure out what was going on, he found that his body had been locked down. Not only that, but the flow of time around him had also started to reverse. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. The shocking saber light slashed out, and the surrounding space trembled wantonly. Moreover, traces of black cracks appeared. The legend was true. At this moment, the sage-to-be martial artist finally realized how terrifying the young man in front of him was. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned around and prepared to leave, but how could Longao give him the chance? There was no doubt about it. The frightening blade light swallowed the half-step saint in an instant. The spatial cracks danced wildly, as if they were roaring and roaring. The Snake Emperor swallowed his saliva. He had never imagined that the master's strength had reached such a terrifying stage. He had almost killed a sage-to-be warrior in an instant. The Snake Emperor knew very well that the current Longao was no longer the same as before. When Longao had wreaked havoc in the ethereal palace and killed a half-step saint in an instant, it was mostly due to luck and the half-step saint's carelessness. But now, Longao had killed a half-step saint in an instant by relying entirely on his own strength. "Master, I'm sorry. I was wrong this time." Waving his hand, Longao didn't even bother to say another word. He called back all the corpse slaves around him and removed the power from the Snake Emperor's body. In this way, the Snake Emperor could no longer command the corpse slaves. How could the Snake Emperor not know about this? His recklessness this time not only meant that he had lost the command of the corpse slaves, but his status in the dragon sect would also plummet in the future. With a deep sigh, the Snake Emperor didn't blame anyone because he knew that he was the culprit who had caused all this. He couldn't blame anyone else. Longao took the Snake Emperor and slowly left by Ling Mountain under the protection of the corpse slaves. The situation between Longao and the Snake Emperor was completely different. The corpse slaves were 100% obedient to Longao's command, but the Snake Emperor couldn't do this. Seeing Longao and the Snake Emperor walking out of by Ling Mountain, the expressions of all the people from the three major forces changed. They weren't afraid of the Snake Emperor, but they were afraid of Longao. As the saying goes, a person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. The news of Longao inflicting heavy losses on the four major forces had already spread throughout the 9 states. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid of such a counterattacking character. However, the experts of the 3 big forces were as numerous as clouds. In fact, there were as many as 6 semi-sage experts. With such strength, there was no need to be afraid of Longao. It was precisely because of this that everyone was staring at Longao. Their intention was very clear. "Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. It's best if you surrender yourself. Then, the 3 major forces can be magnanimous and spare your life. Otherwise, a bunch of trash." Looking coldly at the 3 major forces, Longao didn't want to waste any more words. He found a flying spiritual beast corpse slave and let the Snake Emperor leave first. But how could the 3 major forces agree? The 3 major forces shot out 3 figures at the same time. They were all World Emperor-level experts. However, before the crowd could react, they were killed by a shocking light and their corpses fell to the ground. They stared blankly at the scene that just happened. Longao killed 3 World Emperors in an instant. Even if he was a half-step saint, could he do this? The Snake Emperor left smoothly. This way, Longao no longer had any scruples and could start a massacre. Originally, Longao didn't want to completely break off relations with the 3 major forces. After all, with the current strength of the Dragon Sect, it wasn't time to fight to the death with the 3 major forces. However, Longao now thought about it. If this continued, it wouldn't be good for the development of the sect. Now that the Dragon Sect had the Fire Qilin and his family had the protection of the old ancestor, even if the 3 major forces wanted to deal with the sect and family, it wasn't very likely. Therefore, without any worries, Longao decided to completely break off relations with the 3 major forces. Even if he couldn't destroy the 3 major forces, he had to quickly develop the sect and family strength. The only way was to kill. Everyone here today will die. Not a single one will be left alive. Ha ha ha, with just you? Who do you think you are? Shameless boasting. You're overestimating yourself. Hearing Longao's arrogant words, a burst of ridicule came from all around. They didn't take Longao's words to heart. With the strength of a single person, wanting to kill everyone here? Unless there was something wrong with his head, or water had entered his brain. Longao, the one who will die today will be you, not us. I want to see how you're going to kill us all. You'll pay the price for your arrogance. Chapter 520. No one believed Longao's words. In everyone's eyes, Longao was simply too arrogant. He was simply courting death. The The total number of people from the three major forces was more than 3,000. Just the number of semi-saints alone was as many as 6. What did this mean? Longao didn't continue to talk nonsense. He wanted to end the battle quickly. After giving the order to the corpse slave army, Longao's figure also rushed out. As the saying goes, soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals, 1 against 6. Longao and the 6 semi-sage experts started to fight. Fortunately, the 6 semi-sage experts were at primary level and intermediate level. Only one of them was a senior semi-sage expert. Otherwise, the outcome of this battle would have been uncertain if a peak semi-sage had arrived. In order to end the battle quickly, Longao just released a powerful aura of heaven and earth. The battle hadn't started yet, but the aura of the 6 semi-saints had already been fiercely suppressed. However, the 3 major forces still had 6 semi-saints. The 6 semi-saints joined forces and forcibly broke the aura of heaven and earth released by Longao. The 7 of them fiercely fought together. They went back and forth, and it was a fight to the death. Longao was very clear in his heart. In the situation of 1 against 6, the longer he delayed, the more they would ignore him. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. Blood-sucking wild blade, one blade after another. The 6 semi-saints weren't fools. Of course, they knew how powerful Longao was. They attacked Longao from 4 different directions. Moreover, they chose to take turns to fight him. Seeing a semi-saint's fists fiercely smashing towards him, Longao didn't pay attention to it. Instead, he chose to forcibly resist. Moreover, he also smashed out with his fists. However, his fists were aimed at another semi-saint. What was Longao trying to do? Seeing that Longao didn't dodge at all and seized the opportunity to smash another semi-saint, the 6 semi-saints were somewhat shocked. They didn't know what Longao wanted to do. Could it be that he wanted both sides to suffer? If it was a one-on-one battle, then Longao's strategy might have been effective. However, there were 6 semi-sage experts now. Even if Longao could succeed, he would only be able to kill and seriously injure one of the semi-sage experts. He would definitely be smashed to death. The 6 semi-sage experts knew this, and so did Longao. However, Longao had still chosen to do so because he knew this. The 6 half-step saints were completely confused by Longao's actions. However, in order to kill Longao, it was worth it even if they were seriously injured. Therefore, the 6 half-step saints still chose to attack. Crack, crack. Longao was mercilessly smashed. Everyone thought that even if Longao wasn't smashed to death, he would definitely be severely injured. But what was the result? Longao acted as if nothing had happened. The 6 half-step saints looked as if they had seen a ghost. Longao didn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He ruthlessly smashed his fists and directly smashed the bodies of the half-step saints. The half-step saints couldn't be compared to Longao. Longao had the divine desolation body. Even if he had condensed 1/3 of the divine desolation body, it wasn't something that a half-step saint expert could break. However, it was different for a half-step saint expert. Longao was incomparably powerful. In addition to the so-called divine dragon arm, he could directly smash a half-step saint expert to death with one punch. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He had just smashed a half-step saint expert to death. He directly used his self-created martial technique, Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. A terrifying tornado appeared in an instant and directly swallowed 5 half-step saints. At this moment, Longao could finally heave a sigh of relief. The aura of heaven and earth suppressed the 5 half-step saints. While Longao's fists were smashing, his feet weren't idle either. In any case, he was fighting 1 against 5, attacking left and right. The 5 half-step saints were extremely shocked. The 5 of them had never imagined that under the situation of 1 against 6, not only would Longao kill one of them, but he would also advance step by step. If the 5 of them were careless, they would be obliterated by him. Longao was too powerful. The 5 half-step saints didn't dare to hesitate at all. They only knew how to dodge and didn't dare to meet force with force. However, Longao didn't give them the slightest chance. Fist after fist, blade after blade. Innate remarkable ability, Dragon's Roar. A dragon's roar resounded. Immediately after, a huge dragon shadow appeared behind Longao. The dragon's roar continued to resound, echoing all around by Ling Mountain. The 5 half-step saints were completely stunned as they stared blankly at the huge dragon shadow behind Longao. After locking onto the 5 half-step saints, time began to flow backward. Longao was suddenly delighted. He didn't give up the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The blood-sucking broadsword in his hand had already slashed out fiercely. The shocking broadsword light came out, not giving the 5 half-step saints the slightest chance to react. They had already been swallowed by the shocking broadsword light. So far, 6 half-step saints, plus the half-step saint from the ethereal palace who had just been killed, a total of 7 half-step saints were killed in less than 3 minutes. What kind of concept was this? Once this matter spread out, Longao's name would resound in the world again. Looking coldly at the corpse demon army slaughtering the 3 forces, Longao didn't have the slightest bit of pity. This was because he was very clear about the principle that the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. Once you showed mercy to the enemy, there was no doubt that your end would be very tragic. This was a principle that had never changed since ancient times. The corpse demon army continued to slaughter the people of the 3 forces. In just a few dozen minutes, more than 3,000 people were slaughtered, not leaving a single one alive. The news that Longao had personally appeared in by Ling Mountain, slaughtered 3,000 people of the 3 forces, and killed 7 half-step saints instantly spread throughout the 9 regions. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. None of them knew how Longao had done it. Not to mention the 3,000 disciples, just the 7 half-step sages. How could Longao fight against 7 half-step sages by himself? Countless people rushed into by Ling Mountain, wanting to see if this matter was true. But no matter who it was, no one was allowed to step into by Ling Mountain. The reason was very simple. The 3 forces had completely sealed off by Ling Mountain. The 3 forces' actions had indirectly proved one thing, and that was that the matter of by Ling Mountain was true. Henceforth, Longao's name resounded throughout the world. Longao's nickname was also Longao's. After all, Longao had slaughtered 3,000 people and killed 7 half-step saints this time. This kind of thing seemed to be something that very few people would do. Killing God Longao. The name of killing God spread throughout the 9 regions. Not only did no one curse Longao, but they all worshipped him even more. The biggest reason was that Longao had done something that others didn't dare to do. The 4 forces had always been the overlords of the 9 regions, and no one dared to provoke them. But Longao was different. Not only had he inflicted heavy losses on the 4 forces, but this massacre had also announced to the world that the dragon sect and the 3 forces had become incompatible like fire and water. The Battle of Bai Ling Mountain had completely enraged the 3 forces. But due to Longao's strength and the mystery of the dragon sect, the 3 forces didn't immediately take action. Instead, they remained silent. This made everyone in the 9 regions think that the 3 forces were afraid of Longao. Chapter 521. Longao, the Azura. Dragon Sect, Main Hall. Everyone in the Dragon Sect knew about the Master's massacre of the 3 major forces. It was heartening. All of them were extremely excited and were smiling. Only one person, the Snake Emperor, was extremely depressed. He thought that with the corpse slave army, he could perform well. But in the end, he went for wool and came home shorn. If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it. Hearing the mockery from Xia Jun, the Snake Emperor glared angrily, but there was nothing he could do. He clenched his fists tightly. At this moment, Longao walked out from the back hall. Seeing everyone standing up, he waved his hand and said with a smile, "Everyone, take a seat. I called you here to discuss how to deal with the 3 major forces." Longao's massacre of the 3 great powers this time had given the Dragon Sect a boost in confidence. "Master, if nothing goes wrong, I believe that the 3 major forces won't come for a while. We can focus on developing the strength of the sect." "I don't agree with what Elder Ouyang said. I suggest that we take advantage of the low morale of the three major forces and catch them off guard. Everyone was arguing with each other until their faces and ears were flushed red. Longao did not say anything. He just smiled and looked at everyone in front of him. After arguing for a long time, everyone realized that the master did not say anything. They were too embarrassed to speak, so they kept quiet and looked at the master. Everyone knew that the master had to make the final decision. Elder Snake, what do you think? Master, are you asking me? Hearing that the master was asking him, the Snake Emperor was surprised and could not believe it. Not only the Snake Emperor, even the others were curious. They did not know what was going on with the master. Everyone knew that the Snake Emperor did not listen to the master's orders and led the corpse slave army to hunt down the three major forces. He was almost killed. The death of the Snake Emperor was a small matter. But if the corpse slave army was lost, the Snake Emperor could not escape death. Because of this, everyone, including the Snake Emperor, thought that the master would not give the Snake Emperor another chance. Even if the Snake Emperor was still an elder of the sect, it was just a facade with no real power. Yes, sect leader, now that the three major forces have suffered heavy losses, if nothing unexpected happens, they will definitely stop and think about it for a period of time. With my many years of experience, the three major forces will definitely not think that we will continue to pursue them. Therefore, the Snake Emperor looked at the unfriendly gazes all around him and sighed deeply. He did not continue speaking, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. The Snake Emperor had chosen to take the initiative to attack, catching the three great forces off guard. Nodding, Longao suddenly said, "All right, let's do as Elder Snake says. We'll launch a surprise attack." Hearing that the master had chosen the Snake Emperor's method, everyone sighed. It was clear that the master trusted the Snake Emperor. Even after what had happened, he did not blame the Snake Emperor. Instead, he listened to the Snake Emperor's suggestion and chose to attack. We will now split into three groups. The first group will attack the Ethereal Palace, led by Elder Snake. Elder Snake, you should be fine, right? Master. All right, now is not the time to be wishy-washy. The second group will attack the Nether Mansion, led by Uncle Ao. The third group will attack. Longao quickly arranged everything. This time, Longao had thought it through. Since he had already slaughtered more than 3,000 people from the three great forces, the Dragon Sect and the three great forces had completely fallen out. Even if he did not take the initiative to attack, he believed that the three great forces would not let it go. Rather than being attacked passively, it was better to take the initiative to attack. Everyone, listen up. This time, when attacking the three great forces, you only need to use your wits and not fight recklessly. If the situation is not right, retreat immediately. Do not give the three great forces any chance. Understand? Understood. Everyone looked at the Serpent Emperor because the Serpent Emperor had disobeyed orders without permission and almost caused the sect to lose an army of corpse demons. Therefore, no one believed the Serpent Emperor at all. How could the Serpent Emperor not know this? Master, I won't do it this time. I will bring you good news. All right, everyone go and prepare. We will start the operation tonight. Everyone left except for the Snake Emperor. He looked at the young man in front of him and said helplessly, "Thank you, Master, for giving me a chance. I will not act recklessly again." "All right, I believe you. Go and prepare." "Thank you." After saying this, the Snake Emperor turned and left, leaving Longao alone in the hall. Why do you choose to continue believing in the Snake Emperor? Are you not afraid that the Snake Emperor will repeat the same mistake? Looking at the Ghost King who had suddenly appeared, Longao smiled and said, "I can say with certainty that the Snake Emperor will not do it again. It is because of this that I want to send the Snake Emperor to deal with the Ethereal Palace. No one is more suitable than the Snake Emperor." Aotion nodded and said with praise, "You have grown. I believe that in the near future, your future is limitless. But Ao, I want to remind you of one thing. Don't kill them all." "Why?" Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that Aotion was hinting at something. Could it be because of his long family? Ao, without the support of a powerful backer, Do you think the four great powers could have dominated the 9 states for so many years? Right now, the four great powers can deal with you, but their backers will not appear. Once you kill them all, I believe that these superpowers will appear one after another. So that's why. Uncle Ao, I understand what you mean. I know what I am doing. In the future, I will definitely lead the dragon sect to the top. How ambitious. Aotion was very surprised, because Aotion felt that his ambition was already very big, but he never thought that Longao's ambition was even bigger than his own. He helplessly smiled. After all, the ideal is like a dream. The reality is very cruel. Everyone wants to make a career, but how many people can really do it? Uncle Ao, you have to be careful when dealing with the Nether Mansion. Although we're confident, the three great powers will definitely be on guard. If you feel that something is wrong, don't worry about anything else. Come back safely. I don't want to wait for Little Snow and Annie to come back while you're gone. Aotion's body trembled when he heard Little Snow and Annie. He nodded. I'll be fine. I still have to stay alive to find Little Snow and her mother with you. Looking at the figure that was gradually leaving, two figures suddenly flashed in Long Ao's mind. Yuin and Ao Shui, the two people that he loved the most, but they were incomparably far away from him. Strength. He must have strong strength in order to ensure that the people that he loved wouldn't be hurt. Otherwise, it would be too late to regret when the person that he loved really left him. P.S. Little Nine knows that the update times these days are not fixed, so I don't want to find an excuse. Starting tomorrow, all the updates will be in the morning. Everyone, please forgive me. Chapter 522. Snake Emperor, Ghost King Aotion, and the others split into 3 groups to attack the 3 forces. Being caught off guard was the Dragon Sect's motto. Not only that, but the Imperial City also sent out 3 groups to attack the 3 forces together with the Dragon Sect. Just as Longao and Snake Emperor had guessed, Longao had slaughtered 3,000 people and 7 half-saints on by Ling Mountain. The 3 forces would never have thought that Longao would take advantage of the situation. When the 3 forces finally reacted, the situation was already irreversible. The Dragon Sect's corpse slave army and the Imperial City's powerful army forced the 3 forces to retreat. In just one night, they were almost forced out of the 9 states and back to the 9-state spirit region. However, the 3 forces obviously didn't want to give up. They immediately increased their efforts and sent out powerful forces. This way, the 3 forces could be considered to have gained a firm foothold. This time, Snake Emperor and the others didn't dare to disobey Longao's orders. They stopped and didn't continue to chase after the 3 forces. Just when everyone, including the Imperial City and the 3 forces, thought that Longao would occupy the other states, the Dragon Sect's 3 groups all withdrew and returned to Tianzhou. Longao's action caused everyone to be in a daze. The Imperial City was very depressed. They thought that they could occupy half of the country this time, but the Dragon Sect suddenly withdrew, so the Imperial City could only choose to give up. Dragon Sect, behind the mountain, beside an extremely beautiful lotus pond. Brother Duan, please sit. Longao wasn't surprised by Duan Kai's sudden arrival because he had already guessed that the Imperial City would send someone. He didn't expect Duan Kai to come personally. Duan Kai was very depressed. As a higher-up of the Imperial City, he shouldn't have come at all. However, with Longao's current status, Duan He was no longer qualified. Master Long, I believe you already know the purpose of my visit this time. Longao shook his head and didn't say anything. Coldly snorting in his heart, Longao of course knew why Duan Kai had come this time, but he would not point it out because in this situation, the initiative was already in his hands. In his heart, he was already cursing Longao's 18 generations of ancestors, but Duan Kai's expression was very natural as he said, Master Long, this time, the Dragon Sect and the Imperial City have joined forces and already have the upper hand. Why don't you take advantage of the victory and pursue? Why must the Dragon Sect suddenly withdraw and lose such a great opportunity that only comes once in a blue moon? Brother Duan, do you think that pursuing the enemy while they are victorious is the best strategy? Nodding his head, Duan Kai said, That's right. This time, The three great forces were caught unprepared by me. As long as we take advantage of the situation and pursue them, I'm sure that we'll be able to drive the three great forces out of the 9 provinces, and then each of us will occupy half of the world. How could Longao not know what Duan Kai meant? He once again cursed in his heart, but no matter what, the sect and the imperial city were still allies. Brother Duan, things have already come to this point. To tell you the truth, with the current strength of the dragon sect, once we fight with the three great forces, we'll only be digging our own grave. Do you agree with my point of view? Duan Kai did not say anything, which could be considered as tacit agreement. As one of the upper echelons of the imperial city, Duan Kai naturally knew how terrifying the foundations and strength of the 4 great forces were. Just the dragon sect, which had just been established not long ago, wanted to destroy the 4 great forces. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, he definitely did not believe it. However, Duan Kai still did not want to give up this opportunity because his intention was very simple. He wanted to borrow the power of the dragon sect to restrain the 3 great forces. When the time came to occupy the 9 provinces, he would be able to find the grave of the gods as quickly as possible. As long as he could find the grave of the gods, even if the imperial city withdrew from the 9 provinces, it would not be a big deal. He was unwilling to accept this. With the current strength of the dragon sect, going head-on against the 3 great forces is practically courting death. Brother Duan, your imperial city has a big business, so of course you're not afraid, but our situation is different. Master Long, things have already come to this point. Let's not beat around the bush. Sure. Longao appeared to be very indifferent, as if he did not care about the alliance of the 2 great forces at all. It was precisely because of this that Duan Kai became more and more unsure of himself. Under normal circumstances, there were as many forces as there were hairs on a cow that wanted to ally with the imperial city, but everything would be led by the imperial city. But now, it was as if the imperial city and the dragon sect had formed an alliance, with the dragon sect as the boss and the imperial city as the vassal. It was as if the imperial city had to curry favor with the dragon sect. Master Long, the grudge between you and the 3 great forces, especially with the Long family and the ethereal palace, has reached a point where it's either you die or I die. Although it's impossible for us to destroy the 3 great forces, it's more than enough to restrain them. What do you think? Longao did not speak because he knew very well that Duan Kai had not finished speaking. As expected. Master Long, I can guarantee that as long as you go all out this time, we will definitely be able to drive the 3 great forces out of the 9 provinces. At that time, we will each occupy half of the world. I can also guarantee that 3 years later, the imperial city will also withdraw from the 9 provinces. At that time, the entire 9 provinces will belong to the dragon sect. What do you think? He sneered to the extreme in his heart. Regarding Duan Kai's schemes and machinations, Longao knew it clearly. The grave of the gods. In the end, Duan Kai could not wait to drive the 3 great forces out so that he could monopolize the grave of the gods. However, the 4 great forces would never have thought that the grave of the gods they were searching for was not in the 9 provinces at all, but in the 9 provinces' spirit domain Sin City. Since that was the case, why not use the imperial city to restrain the 3 great forces? Thinking of this, Longao said, Brother Duan, since you have said so, then I will also tell you the truth. The reason why the dragon sect can defeat the 3 great forces is entirely because of the corpse slave army. However, the problem now is that the corpse slave army is limited in number. As long as the imperial city can send double the number of people, I will agree to this matter. Shameless. Despicable. Duan Kai cursed all 18 generations of Longao's ancestors in his heart. Double the number of people. Longao wanted nothing more than to take advantage of the situation, but he had to agree. This time, Duan Kai had come to settle this matter. Thinking of the comparison between the grave of the gods and double the number of people, Duan Kai nodded and said, No problem, Master Long. Since we have already agreed, then let's act immediately. What do you think? Okay. Longao smiled. This time, the imperial city and the dragon sect were clearly at a disadvantage. However, the imperial city could only suffer in silence, unable to voice out their bitterness. If it were not for the grave of the gods, Duan Kai would not be so compromising. Longao also took advantage of this point to obtain the greatest benefit for himself and the dragon sect. The corpse slave army was immortal. Longao was not worried about the corpse slave army. When the four great forces fought, he would be the one taking advantage in the end. P.S. It's 2 o'clock. Hurry up and go to sleep. You have to wake up early tomorrow. Sigh. Chapter 523. In the end, Longao and Duan Kai reached a verbal agreement. The dragon sect had sent out an army of corpse slaves, while the imperial city had to send out twice as many people. In this way, the imperial city was indeed at a disadvantage. However, the imperial city had its own plans. Once they conquered the 9 states, the imperial city could search for the grave of the gods without restraint. In Duan Kai and Duan He's opinion, Longao didn't know about the grave of the gods in the 9 states. Unexpectedly, not only did Longao know, he had even entered the grave of the gods. If Duan Kai knew about this, who knew what he would think? Currently, the 9 states was in chaos. The 4 major forces and the dragon sect were fighting. All the clans and sects in the 9 states behaved obediently, not daring to make any moves. Kid, have you really seen the ancestor of my Qilin clan? Dragon sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. The fire Qilin was obviously shocked. His face was filled with disbelief. He knew very well what the ancestor of the Qilin clan represented. The ancient Qilin, the ancestor of the Qilin clan, had a supreme position in the Qilin clan. Because of this, the fire Qilin didn't quite believe that Longao had actually seen the ancestor. He hadn't even seen him once. Shrugging helplessly, Longao asked, "Do I need to lie to you?" The fire Qilin thought about it and realized that Longao had no reason to lie to him, unless he was bored to death. "Longao, tell me what happened." Nodding, Longao didn't hide much. However, he didn't mention anything about the immemorial divine dragon and the dragon seal space. The process was very simple. He went to the ethereal palace and accidentally met a water Qilin. Just as it was about to kill him, the ancestor of the Qilin clan, the immemorial Qilin, suddenly appeared. After hearing this, the fire Qilin was very surprised, as if he couldn't figure it out. What's the reason? In the end, the fire Qilin couldn't figure out the reason. He couldn't figure out why the ancestor would appear when the water Qilin killing Longao was such a small matter. Kid, I don't know why the ancestor has appeared to save you, but I can tell you clearly that the ancestor is one of the most powerful existences in the world. With the ancestor's help, you can do whatever you want on the continent. Nodding his head, Longao only smiled and did not say anything. In the end, Longao did not tell the fire Qilin the truth. After all, the primordial Qilin did not appear to save him, but the primordial divine dragon had lured the primordial Qilin out. Kid, do you know what the primordial Qilin means? I don't know. F***CK, you're really an idiot. Let me tell you now, the primordial Qilin and the primordial divine dragon of the dragon clan are the strongest existences among the divine beasts. If you have the protection of the old ancestor, you'll be rich in the future. It was this sentence again. Longao's heart was depressed to the extreme, but he still resisted and did not tell the truth to the fire Qilin. Kid, since the ancestor has personally appeared to save you, I believe he will see you in a new light. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a martial skill that is exclusive to the Qilin clan. However, you have to promise me that you won't teach this martial skill to anyone, not even your family members. Hearing this, Longao's heart was suddenly filled with joy. Regarding the fire Qilin's meaning, Longao knew clearly. Under normal circumstances, the fire Qilin would not teach him the martial skill of the Qilin clan. In the end, the fire Qilin still wanted to rely on him to curry favor with the primordial Qilin. However, the primordial Qilin was the ancestor of the Qilin clan. If he could curry favor with it, his future would be bright. Longao found it funny. He had nothing to do with the primordial Qilin, but the fire Qilin thought that he was related to the primordial Qilin. No matter what, the fire Qilin would teach him a martial skill. Ever since it heard that the primordial Qilin had personally appeared to save Longao, the fire Qilin's attitude took a 180-degree turn. It was even willing to teach Longao a martial skill. Needless to say, even the Qilin clan was snobbish. Kid, the martial skill that I will teach you is one of the strongest in the illusionary divine stage. It is called the Shadow Strike. Brother Qilin, what is the Shadow Strike? Following which, the fire Qilin taught Longao the secrets and essentials of the Shadow Strike. After hearing this, Longao sighed. The Shadow Strike that the fire Qilin taught him was too strong. Although it could not be compared to the upgraded blood-sucking Frenzy Blade, it was just as the fire Qilin had said. Within the illusionary divine stage, the Shadow Strike was enough to deal with it. The Shadow Strike, as the name suggested, was to make use of the shadows of others to kill them. The theory was simple. When attacking the opponent, one would directly attack the shadows and not the actual body. Shadows would only appear at night. However, the strength of the Shadow Strike lay in the fact that it could kill shadows even during the day. No matter what, even during the day, martial artists would have illusory shadows. It was just that ordinary people would not be able to see them. However, martial artists who had learnt the Shadow Strike would be able to see the power of the Shadow Strike. Longao did not slack off. Ever since he learnt the Shadow Strike, he went into seclusion and did not meet anyone. Needless to say, Longao's talent and perception were indeed very strong. According to the fire Qilin's calculations, Longao would need at least 3 months to master the Shadow Strike. However, Longao was able to shorten that time to 3 days. Even the fire Qilin was impressed by Longao's perception and talent. After achieving a small success, Longao could not wait to test the power of the Shadow Strike. Who should he look for? After thinking for a while, Longao suddenly thought of a person and immediately left. Seventh brother, don't joke around. Although I have reached the Sage-to-Be realm, my strength is not on the same level. Quick, I still need to cultivate. You go and find someone else to test it. Hearing that his seventh brother wanted to test the Shadow Strike, Longing was naturally unwilling. If it was someone else or an ordinary Sage-to-Be martial artist, it would not be a problem at all. However, his seventh brother was abnormal. He was a super martial artist who could instantly kill a Sage-to-Be martial artist. Would he dare to try? Big brother, let's stop here. Ever since you broke through to the Sage-to-Be realm, you have not found anyone to test the Shadow Strike. Don't you want to know how strong you are now? It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. Ever since he had obtained the great emperor's inheritance from the old ancestor, his cultivation had made rapid breakthroughs. In just a few months, he had reached the Sage-to-Be realm. Longing did not even dare to think about it before. It was precisely because of this that he wanted to find someone to test it out. However, there were too few Sage-to-Be martial artists in the Dragon Sect and all the people in the family. Longing had just started to cultivate in the family. However, sometimes he needed Longao's help, so he directly moved to the Dragon Sect and occasionally returned to the family. Chapter 524. In the end, Longing chose to agree. Longao and Longing faced each other. Suddenly, both of them moved. This time, Longao only wanted to test his Shadow Strike martial skill, so he didn't use any of his killing moves. Shadow Strike martial skill. Longao dodged his big brother's attacks while sensing his big brother's shadow. In the end, Longing had just broken through to the half-step Saint realm. He was still immature in all aspects. Longao instantly sensed him. Shadow Strike martial skill. Longao quickly moved out and started attacking the shadow. This time, Longing was completely depressed because he didn't know what his seventh brother was doing. In any case, he was attacked everywhere. It was impossible to guard against. Wait. Longao stopped and asked curiously, Big brother, what's wrong? Seventh brother. You're too much of a bully. Your martial skill is too powerful. I can't even touch you, but I'm beaten half to death by you. I'm not going to fight anymore. Longao shrugged helplessly. He felt that he was bullying his big brother. Not to mention the other killing moves. Just the Shadow Strike martial skill wasn't something that his big brother could block. Longao was very confident that once he used the Shadow Strike martial skill, he could completely suppress a mid-step half-step saint or even a high-step half-step saint. Moreover, the Shadow Strike martial skill could be upgraded. It would be useless after upgrading to the Emperor realm. However, this was already enough. Seventh brother, the martial skill you used just now, did you create it yourself? Although Longing hadn't seen his seventh brother's self-created heaven and earth sorrow, he had heard rumors that his seventh brother's self-created heaven and earth sorrow was extremely terrifying. It could even instantly kill a half-step saint. Could it be that the martial skill he used just now was also self-created? Thinking of this, Long Ying's heart was ruthlessly attacked. This wasn't to say that Long Ying was envious of his seventh brother. He had grown to such a level in just over a year. Big brother, to be honest, this martial skill is called Shadow Strike. I didn't create it myself. The Fire Qilin taught it to me. Hearing these words, Long Ying was very surprised and asked softly, Seventh brother, why did the Fire Qilin teach you the Shadow Kill martial technique? Without waiting for Longao to speak, Longing continued, Seventh brother, you should know better than me that the Qilin clan is the strongest existence in the world. It's impossible for them to casually teach their martial skills to outsiders. Seventh brother, have you ever thought about why the Fire Qilin would do this? How could Longao not know about his elder brother's worries? Longao had always admired his elder brother since he was young. No matter what, the number one genius of the Long family had always been his elder brother. If it wasn't for his rise to power overshadowing his elder brother's brilliance, he believed that his elder brother would still be the shining star of the Long family. It was precisely because of this that Longao explained the reason. After hearing this, Long Ying was shocked to the extreme. Although he didn't know what the primordial Qilin meant and didn't know how strong the primordial Qilin was, Long Ying knew one thing. As the ancestor of the Qilin clan, it was definitely one of the strongest existences in the world. Not to mention the Fire Qilin. Even he couldn't understand why the primordial Qilin would appear out of nowhere to save his seventh brother. Longao also didn't tell his elder brother about the primordial divine dragon. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon was related to the heavenly Tao. In the future, he would inevitably have to deal with the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the less the Long family was involved in this matter, the better. Big brother, I don't know why either. The Fire Qilin taught me the Shadow Kill martial technique because of the primordial Qilin. Since that's the case, you should practice the Shadow Kill martial technique well. I've already tried it myself. This martial technique is really powerful. With a smile, Longao suddenly said, Big brother, if I leave the Long family in the future, the Long family will rely on you. Seventh brother, what do you mean? Hearing Longao's words, Long Ying was shocked. He didn't know what happened to his seventh brother at all. However, he wasn't a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind his words. Big brother, I'm sure you know a little about my situation. Yuan and Aoshue aren't by my side. After I've settled the Long family's matters, I'll leave Tianzhou to find Aoshue and Yuan. At that time, the Long family will be handed over to you. With the Fire Qilin, the ancestor, and his elder brother overseeing the sect and the Long family, Longao wasn't too worried. Longao had already decided that after settling the Long family's matters, no matter what happened, he would leave to find his two lovers. Longing nodded. Of course, he knew about his seventh brother's situation. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Seventh brother, be careful. Don't worry about the Long family. With me here, nothing will happen to the Long family. Longao took out the Bell of Death from his bosom and said, Big brother, this is a divine weapon of a divine path warrior. It's very powerful. Take it. Absolutely not. Longing didn't even think about it and directly refused. Longing knew very well what a divine weapon of a divine path warrior meant. He said, Seventh brother, keep it with you to protect yourself. I don't need you to care about me. Not caring whether Long Ying was willing or not, Longao directly stuffed the Bell of Death into Long Ying's hands. He stood up and stretched his body. Without giving Long Ying any chance to speak, Long Ao had already disappeared without a trace. Looking at the divine weapon in his hand, Long Ying clenched it tightly. He didn't know what to say. Seventh brother, I will definitely protect the Long family and never leave you. It had to be said that Long Ao was really generous. Even if Long Ying was his elder brother, many people wouldn't be able to do this. What a joke. The Bell of Death was a divine weapon of a divine path warrior. There was no need to talk about its power. Being able to obtain it was a kind of opportunity. If he gave it to others, not to mention his elder brother, even his biological father wouldn't give him face. Divine weapon was the strongest divine weapon in the world. Only divine path warriors could possess it. Once other divine path warriors found out that other warriors had divine weapons, the result would be obvious. Long Ao gave the Bell of Death to his elder brother. The meaning was very simple. Once he left the Long family, his elder brother would be the #1 expert of the Long family. However, even if his elder brother completely refined the inheritance, he would only be able to break through to the Great Emperor realm. What would he do if he encountered a higher-level Great Emperor, or titled Great Emperor? It was precisely because of this that Long Ao gave the Bell of Death to his elder brother. He hoped that his elder brother would have a final trump card if he encountered a powerful enemy in the future. Dragon Sect and Imperial City Alliance were just about to take advantage of the situation and continue to attack the three major forces. Rank 3 Long Family, Nether Mansion, and Ethereal Palace. However, the four major forces suddenly stopped. Long Ao didn't know what was going on, especially the Imperial City. He and Duan Kai had an agreement. Duan Kai wouldn't give up just like that. Chapter 525. Long Ao felt that something was amiss. According to Duan Kai's impatience, Long Ao found it hard to imagine why Duan Kai would give up such a rare opportunity. Before Long Ao could look for Duan Kai and Duan he had already rushed over. As such, Long Ao became more and more curious. He did not know what the Imperial City was up to. Brother Duan, what happened to the Imperial City's sudden retreat? For some reason, Long Ao's heart skipped a beat when he saw Duan Kai and Duan He's solemn expression. It seemed that something big had happened. Otherwise, the Imperial City would not have retreated so easily. Master Long, there's something you don't know. Duan Kai smiled bitterly and continued. The Dragon Sect's once-in-a-decade beast horde was suddenly brought forward. According to the previous agreement of the four major forces, before the beast horde, no matter what grudges we have, we must put aside our grudges and fight against the beast horde together. Beast horde? Long Ao had no idea what a beast horde was. However, Long Ao was not a fool. For the four major forces to join forces to fight against the beast horde, one could imagine how terrifying it was. Brother Duan, I would like to ask, what is a beast horde? Hearing Long Ao's question, Duan Kai and Duan He were both dumbfounded. However, after thinking about it, they understood. No matter what, Long Ao had only risen in a short period of time. He definitely did not know about the beast horde. Other than the four major forces, most people probably did not know about the beast horde. Master Long, the once-in-a-decade beast horde can be said to be the biggest nightmare of the 9 states. If it were not for the four major forces joining forces, I believe that the 9 states would have fallen into the beast horde's hands now. Hearing this, Long Ao was shocked. According to Duan Kai's words, didn't it mean that the four major forces had become the saviors of the 9 states? Master Long, the beast horde, as the name suggests, is a surge of countless spirit beasts. These spirit beasts are extremely ferocious and cruel. No matter who it is, they will be devoured by these spirit beasts. So that was the case. Long Ao could imagine the endless number of spiritual beasts entering the land of the 9 regions. Even powerful martial artists, such as illusionary divine martial artists, would find it difficult to defend themselves, much less ordinary people. The spirit beast army's devouring ability was terrifying. Long Ao finally understood why the four major forces were so solemn and actually wanted to join hands to deal with the beast tide. Brother Duan, if my guess is correct, the beast tide is more terrifying than we imagined. Since that's the case, can the four great forces withstand the beast tide? Long Ao could completely imagine the terrifying situation of the beast tide entering the 9 states. Even if the 4 major forces were powerful, it would not be an easy task to stop the beast tide. Letting out a deep sigh, Duan Kai said helplessly, back then, in order to fend off the beast tide, the 4 major powers sent out a request for help from the Heaven and Earth sect. As the #1 power in the world, the Heaven and Earth sect sent out 10 supreme Tao formation masters to work together and set up a super formation. In this way, together with the power of the 4 major powers, they could barely fend off the beast tide. Long Ao swallowed his saliva hard. Of course, he knew what 10 supreme Tao formation masters represented. The Heaven and Earth sect was indeed the #1 power in the world. Long Ao also had some understanding of the Heaven and Earth sect. Originally, Long Ao had always thought that the Long family was the strongest existence in the world. However, according to legends, the strongest was the Heaven and Earth sect, followed by the so-called Wanshou sect. The Long family, a total of 10 supreme Tao formation masters, could completely wipe out the entire land of the 9 regions. Long Ao sighed because he knew clearly that if not for the Heaven and Earth sect, even the 4 major forces would not be able to fend off the beast tide. The beast tide occurred once every 10 years and could almost be called the nightmare of the land of the 9 regions. Dragon sect, now you should know why the 4 major forces have all let go of their grudges, right? Nodding his head, Long Ao asked, Brother Duan, I still have one thing that I don't understand. Since the Heaven and Earth sect has already taken action, why didn't the 4 major forces ask the Heaven and Earth sect to continue the attack and just eliminate the beast tide directly? Regarding this point, Long Ao could not figure it out very well. After all, if the Heaven and Earth sect could send 10 supreme Tao formation masters to set up a super formation to deal with the beast tide, why couldn't they directly help the 4 major forces and eliminate the beast tide directly? This way, it could be considered as benefiting the land of the 9 regions. Master Long, there is something you don't know. The beast tide is too terrifying. We can only suppress it, but not completely eliminate it. Even the Heaven and Earth sect is unable to do so. Moreover, the Heaven and Earth sect would not lose any supreme Tao formation masters for the land of the 9 regions. Supreme Tao formation masters were the pinnacle existence in the world. Even for the Heaven and Earth sect, they were precious assets. The Heaven and Earth sect would definitely not lose any supreme Tao formation masters for the land of the 9 regions or the 4 major forces. Long Ao could understand this point. After all, the destruction of the land of the 9 regions had nothing to do with the Heaven and Earth sect. Brother Duan, what is the purpose of your visit this time? You may speak frankly. Long Ao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that Duan He and Duan Kai did not ask him to come here just to chat. In fact, in Long Ao's heart, he had already guessed the purpose of their visit. Master Long, no matter what grudges we have, and no matter what grudges you have with the 3 major forces, we are all part of the land of the 9 regions. Therefore, the safety of the land of the 9 regions is everyone's responsibility. Do you agree with me? Shrugging, Long Ao meant that he agreed. All right, in that case, I will not say any more nonsense. This time, the Nether Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, the 3rd grade Long family, and the Imperial City have all put aside all grudges. Therefore, I hope that Master Long can also put aside your grudges and fight against the beast tide with us. Before Long Ao could speak, Duan He suddenly interrupted, Master Long, as a part of the land of the 9 regions, I believe that you will not refuse, right? Shameless. He cursed fiercely in his heart. Since they had already said so much, if he did not agree, wouldn't he become a sinner of the land of the 9 regions? Brother Duan, you're right. The safety of the land of the 9 regions is everyone's responsibility. Since I am a part of the land of the 9 regions, I will not shirk my duty. Don't worry, I will not become a sinner of the land of the 9 regions. Hearing that Long Ao had agreed, Duan He and Duan Kai were overjoyed. Master Long is so benevolent and righteous. I admire you. Looking at the two in front of him, Long Ao suddenly felt disgusted. They were lying through their teeth. They obviously wanted to kill him, but they were acting as if they admired him. They were simply shameless to the extreme. Brother Duan, I would like to ask, what should I do? Next, Duan Kai explained in detail how to deal with the beast tide. They also agreed to set off 3 days later. Then, Duan He and Duan Kai got up and left. In a short while, they had disappeared without a trace. The 10-year beast tide. Longao's expression was grave because he had a bad feeling in his heart. It seemed that the 10-year beast tide was not simple. P.S. Congratulations to the first alliance leader. Little Nine is extremely grateful. I love you to death. I hope that everyone will support Little Nine. More and more alliance leaders will appear. At that time, Proud Dragon Battle God will definitely surpass the other alliance leaders and reach the peak. Chapter 526. The 10-year beast tide was the nightmare of the 9 prefectures. The reason why Longao agreed this time was simple. No matter what, he, the dragon sect, and his family were all part of the 9 prefectures. If the 9 prefectures were devoured by the beast tide, it would not benefit him at all. However, Longao was not a fool. He would not go all out to stop the beast tide. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to send out the corpse slave army to stop the beast tide on behalf of the dragon sect. In the end, even if the corpse slave army was annihilated, Longao would not be sad at all. However, the dragon sect could not afford to lose any disciple. Longao knew that Duan Kai and Duan He invited him on behalf of the 4 major forces to fight the 10-year beast tide together. It was not because of the dragon sect's strength, but because of the corpse slave army. Dragon sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. Big Brother Qilin, I want to ask you something. Do you know about the 10-year beast tide? Of course I do. What do you want to do? Longao did not hide anything and told the Fire Qilin about Duan Kai's invitation to fight the 10-year beast tide together. After listening, the Fire Qilin's expression became more and more serious. Longao, do you know the origin of the beast tide? Hearing the Fire Qilin's words, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Since the Fire Qilin said so, it seemed that the origin of the beast tide was not ordinary. Longao did not ask because he knew that if the Fire Qilin was willing to tell him, even if he did not ask, the Fire Qilin would definitely tell him. However, if the Fire Qilin was not willing, it would be useless even if he asked 100 or 1,000 times. Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. Do not provoke the beast tide. Big Brother Qilin, why is that? The more the Fire Qilin was like this, the more Longao wanted to know the origin of the beast tide. It seemed that even the Fire Qilin was afraid of the 10-year beast tide. Longao, I just want to tell you one thing. The beast tide is an existence that you cannot provoke. Not to mention you, even my Qilin clan cannot fight against the beast tide. Hearing these words, Longao was considered shocked to the extreme. One must know that the Qilin clan was one of the top clans in the continent. It was a super existence on the same level as the Giant Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan. However, even the Qilin clan did not dare to provoke the beast tide. It was hard for Longao to imagine how terrifying the beast tide was. Could it be that he chose to give up? Qilin, 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 Qilin. Qilin, Qilin, Qilin. Seemingly understanding Longao's character, the Fire Qilin didn't try to persuade him. Instead, it said, Longao, I don't think anything will happen to you as long as you don't touch your roots. Remember, don't go deep into the forbidden area of the beast tide. Otherwise, even if the Long clan and the Heaven and Earth sect come to the 9 prefectures, they won't be able to protect the 9 prefectures. Beast tide forbidden area. Longao did not continue to ask because he knew that the Fire Qilin could only tell him this much. Otherwise, the Fire Qilin would have told him everything just now. Although the Fire Qilin's words were very serious, Longao wasn't too worried. Just as the Fire Qilin had said, the beast tide came once every 10 years. It had already come so many times, so it was impossible for something to happen this time. Moreover, as long as he did not enter the forbidden area of the beast tide, it would be fine. Longao did not hide the matter of the beast tide from the others. No matter what, It was very unusual for the four major forces to suddenly stop. All the members of the dragon sect who received the news turned pale with fright. Everyone knew what the beast tide meant after they learned about it. They needed the Heaven and Earth sect to send out 10 Supreme Tao Formation Masters to set up a formation and join forces with the four major factions. Only then could they barely resist the beast tide. Master, have you really decided to fight the beast tide? Dragon sect, main hall. Everyone was worried when they heard that the master had agreed to fight against the beast tide together with the four major forces. After all, according to what the master had said, the beast tide was too terrifying. It could engulf the 9 prefectures at any time. Longao nodded. How could he not know about the worries in everyone's hearts? However, things had already come to this point. He had no way to escape and could only choose to face it. However, he could not tell anyone about this. Longao was such a person. He had to face all difficulties by himself. Everyone, listen to me first. The 10-year beast tide is no small matter. If we are not careful, the entire 9 states will be destroyed. As a part of the 9 states, we, the dragon sect, should do our part. Moreover, if we do not fight against the beast tide this time, when the beast tide is over, the 4 forces will have the upper hand. At that time, the dragon sect will be the center of the 9 states. It will not be easy for us to continue to establish ourselves in the 9 states. Master, how many people are you going to send? Not one person. Hearing this, everyone became curious. What did the sect leader mean by this? Instantly, everyone thought of one possibility, which was the corpse slave army. I believe that all of you have guessed it. That's right. I plan to send the corpse slave army to fight against the beast tide. Regardless of whether it succeeds or not, our sect will not lose anything. At this moment, the Snake Emperor suddenly stood up and said, Master, everyone has seen the power of the corpse slave army. If we are not careful and get injured, won't we suffer a great loss? In fact, the Snake Emperor wanted to say that he would rather lose some disciples than to damage the corpse slave army. How could the surrounding people not know what the Snake Emperor meant? However, no one looked down on the Snake Emperor. After all, this was the truth. The corpse slave army was more powerful than thousands of soldiers and horses. They could not afford to lose it. Elder Snake, do you know where the corpse slave army came from? I don't know. The Snake Emperor shook his head. Everyone in the surrounding also pricked up their ears. They wanted to hear where the terrifying corpse slave army came from. If I tell you that I can refine a corpse slave in minutes, would you believe me? If someone else stood here and said this, no one would believe it. However, the person who said this was their master. He was a person who liked to create miracles. Moreover, the miracle of the corpse slave army was personally created by the master. Could it be that the corpse slave army was really refined by the master himself? Everyone swallowed their saliva fiercely. It was as if they found it hard to believe. Was the master even human? Master, if you can refine a corpse slave army, why don't you refine millions of corpse slaves? If that's the case, our master can do whatever he wants in the 9 prefectures. What bullsh asterisk T 4 major powers? They will all submit to him. Flop. Hearing Xia Jun's words, Longao almost fell to the ground. An army of millions of corpse slaves? Xia Jun really thought highly of him. Not to mention millions of corpse slaves. Even if it was tens of thousands of corpse slaves, he would probably be exhausted to death. Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao said helplessly, I can't refine millions of corpse slaves. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.